My roommate never removes her makeup, claiming that makeup removers and skincare products are a scam for gullible people. That day, she complained to me again about how uncomfortable her skin felt, so out of kindness, I lent her my makeup remover. This led to her wealthy boyfriend seeing her without makeup and breaking up with her, so my roommate set fire to our shared apartment, then fled at the last second out of fear. After causing my death, she got my boyfriend to give false testimony. Saddling my family with a mountain of debt, given a second chance, I decided to steer clear of that scumbag and that bitch. 1. Cynthia, my skin feels awful. It's suffocating, so clogged and itchy. My roommate Priscilla stood at the bathroom door, dressed in head-to-toe Da Vinci couture, her makeup flawlessly applied. I snapped back to reality, the searing pain of the flames still vivid in my mind. Priscilla never takes her makeup off. Her skin is constantly smothered under layers of concealer and foundation. No wonder it's miserable. As a dermatology nurse, in my past life, I tried to educate her out of kindness, only to end up getting burned for my trouble. Maybe your skin is dehydrated. I have some toner and emulsion here. This is all just a tax on the gullible. They charge hundreds for a bottle of essence. But it's no different from mineral water, she said. Picking up my medicated toner from the vanity and patting it onto her forehead over her thick layer of makeup, I couldn't help but frown at the sight. I'm actually feeling a lot better. Anyway, you have plenty of these at the hospital, so I'll just take this one. I nodded. I'm not feeling too well. I'm going to head back first. With that, I quickly ran into my room and shut the door. I took out my phone to look into the details of terminating the lease early. They're keeping the entire deposit. Plus I have to pay half a month's rent as a penalty, but thinking of Priscilla, I steeled myself and clicked to confirm the application. My life is more important. 2. Priscilla moved in after I did. She introduced herself as a signed model for a contemporary luxury brand, and her designer outfit looked completely out of place in the messy shared apartment. She looked around the place with disdain. My family's business is in the next city over, and most of my money is tied up in stocks and fixed deposits. Otherwise, I'd never live in a place like this. So, what do you do for a living? Upon learning that I was a nurse at a top-tier hospital, she immediately asked if hospital staff got preferential treatment for family and friends, like skipping the queue. I suppose your position is a government-appointed one, right? I nodded. At the time, I didn't grasp the full implication of her words. She seemed convinced I wouldn't make a fuss, blatantly violating our co-living agreement by bringing different men home to spend the night, even going so far as to give them the door code. The yellow urine stains on the toilet seat, the muddy footprints left in the living room, the strange odors on the towels, it was all driving me up the wall. There was even one time when I got up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night and ran into Priscilla's boyfriend, who was wearing nothing but his underwear. If it weren't for the hefty penalty fee, I would have moved out long ago. Click. Just then, the living room door opened from the outside, and Priscilla exclaimed with delight, "Darling, you're here." She recently started dating a new boyfriend named Dylan, who she describes as a handsome, local real estate developer's son, a wealthy second-generation heir with an entire riverside apartment building in Binjiang. This was the longest relationship Priscilla had ever managed to sustain. Miss me, baby? Ha, say something. No, stop it. I put in my earplugs to block out the two of them carrying on shamelessly in the bathroom, all while packing my bags. I have to move out as soon as possible. In my past life, when this man arrived, I was kindly letting Priscilla use my makeup remover oil. Priscilla never properly removed her makeup. She slept in it, applied new makeup over old, and when it smudged, she'd just slap on more concealer and keep going. The pigments from the cosmetics had seeped into her skin, leaving it dull and sallow after cleansing. Even more alarming was that, despite her skin's smooth surface, it was dotted with brownish spots that seemed to emanate from deep within. Aside from a large, light brown mark on her forehead, there were scattered remnants of discoloration between her nose and across her cheeks. The rich kid who walked in froze on the spot. "The red roses tumbling to the floor," he screamed, "Ghost," and bolted out the door, making sure to block all of Priscilla's contacts before he fled, even though she was carrying his child. After that, Priscilla was utterly heartbroken and blamed me for everything. Consumed by hatred, she tried to set our shared apartment on fire one night, hoping to take us both down, but lost her nerve and ran away at the last second. The landlord texted me saying I could move out as early as the end of this month. I posted on Xiaohongsha that I was looking for a place to rent, and was quickly flooded with DMs from agents. I randomly set up a few viewings. 3. The next morning, Priscilla hummed a tune while doing her makeup in the bathroom. She applied a layer of concealer first, then smooth foundation over the uneven patches on her forehead and face. Youth is a wonderful thing when you're young. So many skin issues haven't had a chance to surface yet. She shot me a sidelong glance. "I need the bathroom." I've got a shoot today. Go use the public restroom downstairs to wash up. I'm no longer surprised by Priscilla's selfishness. Cynthia, who on earth came up with and marketed all these skincare and makeup removal concepts? They must be desperate for money. Honestly, it's all so unnecessary. Look at me. I never remove my makeup, and my skin is just fine. It's as if she wasn't the one complaining about feeling unwell last night. Cynthia, if you ask me, some things are just in your genes. Look. You do your whole cleansing and skincare routine every day, but your skin still isn't as good as mine, and let's be honest, you're not as pretty either. I've never quite understood why Priscilla insists on calling me Cynthia, even though I'm 6 years older than her. It just doesn't sit right with me. Priscilla lifted the toilet seat, grabbed my face towel from the hook, wiped it around the rim of the seat, and then, only after catching my eye, put it back with a feigned look of embarrassment. Oops, my bad. I didn't mean to, just grabbed what was handy. Ugh, rich kids and celebrities are always so busy, even on weekends. My boyfriend was out the door first thing, and I've got to shoot. You're lucky, Cynthia, getting proper weekends off. I was so furious my fists were itching, but I couldn't hit her. I just had to get out of there as fast as possible. If I can't handle it, I can at least avoid it. Ring ring. The phone rang. It was my boyfriend calling. Cynthia, I'm coming to see you today to cook for you. Is Priscilla there? I'll make something delicious for you too, Priscilla said while applying blush. Morning, Bruno. I've got a shoot today, so you and Cynthia should have lunch without me. No worries at all. I'll come by next week then. Hope the shoot goes well for Priscilla. The two of them just kept chatting right over me. I couldn't take it anymore and hit the end call button. My boyfriend used to be my biggest defender whenever I vented about Priscilla, that is, before he actually met her. After meeting her, he did a complete 180. He says she's just a sweet, innocent young girl and that I shouldn't make such a big deal out of things. In my past life, after Priscilla set the living room on fire and fled, it was my boyfriend who helped her fabricate an alibi, pinned the arson on me, and ultimately left my parents, who lived in a small county town, saddled with a massive compensation debt, for the rent in Haicheng is incredibly high. A month's rent eats up a third of my salary, but I love the city and don't want to leave. I spent the whole morning looking at 4 one-bedroom apartments for rent. I really don't want to share a place again and risk ending up with another roommate like Priscilla. I went to check out the apartment at the famous L's place in the afternoon, looking for a place, miss. The man was dressed in a sharp suit, carried himself with an air of importance, and was strikingly handsome. Who else could it be but Priscilla's trust fund boyfriend? I recognized his voice. I'd heard it through the door countless times, and I knew his face from the photos Priscilla had shown me to show off. I nodded. Just do, short-term or long-term lease. Long-term. He patted the back seat of his e-bike. Hop on, I'll take you to see some places. I've got connections for properties all over Haicheng. According to Priscilla, he was supposed to drive a silver McLaren, not this little blackie scooter in front of me, so he's a real estate agent. That explains how he could show Priscilla those riverfront townhouses. Hey, where do you work? At a hospital. Can I get your WeChat? My mom loves that you have a stable government job, long maternity leave, good benefits. I told him I'm child-free by choice, choosing to be child-free. That's so irresponsible. If the whole world were made up of people like you, what would become of society? I told him to let me out so I could go look at other places. All right, I'll stop. Just rent from me, please. I'm still way short on my sales target this month. I'm begging you, miss, in the end, to avoid trouble and stay as far away from Priscilla as possible. I didn't rent the apartment Dylan recommended. Instead, I signed a contract with one of his colleagues. Walking past Elle's place in the evening, I saw Dylan getting a real 10 lashing from the store manager. 5. Back home, I had no intention of telling Priscilla about running into Dylan today. Strangely, Priscilla wasn't home. Before I could even turn on the light, bang, bang, bang. The violent pounding at the door triggered a survival instinct, freezing me in complete silence. Open up, open this door. I heard you moving in there. Pay back what you owe. You're gonna regret this. Then came the sound of the door being rammed. From the force of it, there had to be more than 2 people out there. The neighborhood is old, with no security cameras and outdated property facilities. I'm not sure how much longer the front door will hold. There were so many of them, and I was just one girl. Fear made me tremble uncontrollably. I put my phone on silent. In my contacts, my parents were too far away to help. And my boyfriend, what a useless jerk. I was on my own. A sudden idea struck me. I searched for a voice changer on TikTok. What's all the racket? Don't disturb my sleep. Priscilla isn't back yet. I texted the police while doing so. The commotion outside finally stopped, and I quickly retreated to the bedroom and locked the door. Just then, my phone rang. It was a call from home. Cynthia, are you okay? I had a sudden feeling of unease, so I wanted to call you. You can tell us anything. Sweetheart, hearing my parents' voices. I felt a lump in my throat. They worked so hard to put me through school, and not only have I failed to repay them, but my death has also left them with a massive mess to clean up. Priscilla has washed her hands of the whole affair, claiming I took my own life in a fit of despair and set the fire myself. The apartment in Haicheng, her haute couture dresses, her luxury bags, she insists it's all on me to pay for, and since I'm dead, that means my parents are on the hook. That shabby little apartment in Haicheng would take them several lifetimes of scrimping and saving to afford, not to mention all those luxury items Priscilla is demanding be repaid at full price. The thought of it makes me sick with guilt. Priscilla, and that boyfriend of hers who enabled her every step of the way, they both deserve to rot. It's nothing. Cynthia, what's wrong? You sound upset. If you're unhappy, just come home. Mom and Dad will take care of you. I'm fine. It's getting late. You should get some rest. The scream gave me a real fright. What's wrong? Cynthia, I'm watching TV. Gotta go. I recognized that voice. It was Priscilla's, coming from outside the living room door. Well, speak of the devil. I texted my boyfriend Bruno. Priscilla's in trouble. Don't call. Get here now. Bruno works at the hospital, same as me. He's a local from Haicheng, after we made things official. He mentioned it was inconvenient with his paralyzed mother at home, so he helped me rent the apartment right below his. 6. I carefully pressed my ear against the door. I could hear Priscilla's voice, choked with sobs, something about paying it back, begging for more time, followed by the sharp, crisp sound of a slap. The man's voice was loud and clear. I could hear him say, "Didn't you say it was a frail woman? Why is it a man? How dare you lie to me?" Another slap rang out, followed by Priscilla's protests. Then my phone rang again. It was Priscilla. I didn't answer. Then came the sound of someone banging on the door. Priscilla was knocking. "Cynthia, are you back? The power's out here. I'm so scared." About 3 minutes later, the sound of slapping echoed from the doorway again, this time, without the living room door to muffle it. I could hear everything with perfect clarity. Priscilla said in a tearful voice, "My boyfriend has money, then get that guy to wire you the money. Call him right now. We're sorry. The number you have dialed cannot be reached at the moment. Please try your call again later. Sorry, he's busy with work." Thud, thud, the sound of a head hitting the wall, and Priscilla's sobs grew louder. "What are you doing? Bruno's here. Who the hell are you? What's it to you? This bitch owes us money. Paying up is only right. Bruno said he'd cover it, but in the end, it seemed his balance wasn't enough. The leader felt he was being played and proceeded to beat the crap out of Bruno. From outside the door came the thuds and crashes of a body being slammed against the wall. To preserve his image in the eyes of his goddess, Bruno gritted his teeth and only let out a muffled groan, refusing to cry out. Just as I felt Bruno was about to be beaten to death, the police finally arrived. 7. Fortunately, I didn't have much luggage. Once everything was packed, I called a moving van and left that place for good. Bruno was beaten badly. He was unconscious in the hospital for a day, had his leg in a cast, and wasn't discharged for 2 weeks. Somehow, the debt collectors had connections and got off scot-free in the end. Bruno tipped that beating for nothing. Priscilla sent me a ton of WeChat messages asking where I was, but I didn't reply. And she never once came to visit Bruno. Not long after Bruno was discharged, a nurse I was on shift with told me someone was looking for me downstairs. She's very pretty, tall, and slender. She said she's your sister, and she's been stopping everyone who passes by to ask if they know you. I had no choice but to go downstairs. "What do you need?" Priscilla completely ignored my cold demeanor. She just said, "Cynthia, could you help me book an appointment for a checkup? I think I might be pregnant." I'm speechless. "You could make an appointment yourself. How did you even know I was here?" Bruno told me. "I'm on the credit blacklist. I can't make appointments. Please, just help me out. Aren't public servants supposed to serve the people? Don't you want to keep your government job? Get Dylan to help you. He probably has access to a private hospital, right? And isn't it his child you're carrying?" "It's not his." "Yes, I'm carrying his child. He should be the one to take responsibility. That's the spirit. You must be happy, and if you need help, you can always ask Bruno. He's well connected and knows a lot of doctors and nurses in obstetrics and gynecology." Priscilla ignored me and walked straight out of the hospital, making a phone call as she went. I immediately filed a report requesting a transfer to the branch hospital. The commute would be longer and the promotion path unclear, but at least I could get away from that clingy, annoying person. The department head here was only too happy to agree, having been worried no one would volunteer. "Cynthia, if you go to the Gangxia branch, you can apply for a residence permit through the rental unit. The hospital will provide a subsidy. After 6 months, they'll assign you an apartment." Priscilla came looking for me a few more times after that. I had my colleagues tell her I'd been transferred to another office, so I managed to avoid seeing her, and it wasn't just Priscilla. Bruno was looking for me too. "Cynthia, you moved and then transferred to Gangxia. this isn't what we agreed on. Didn't we say we'd get our marriage license by the end of the year, and then you'd quit your job to take care of our home? I never promised him any of that. The reason we've been together this long without getting married isn't just because his mother looks down on me, she thinks because I'm not a local from Haicheng. I can't help advance his career. It's also because I simply can't see a future for us. Bruno and I make about 5 or 6,000 a month, and we're always working overtime. He also has a mother who's bedridden. The reason he chose nursing as his major was to take better care of her. If I quit my job, is his 6,000 a month supposed to support the whole family? Besides, all his money goes to paying off Priscilla's debts. Break up. I blocked Bruno. 8. After work that day, I went to apply for my residence permit. Coincidentally, I ran into Dylan again. He thought I was there to rent from him. Changed your mind. Here to sign the contract. Dylan, so this is the blind date your family set you up with. Dylan's colleague kept eyeing the company badge on my chest. You lucky dog. You found someone with a stable job. Dylan let out a mocking laugh. A familiar woman's voice rang out from the doorway. It was Priscilla. Dylan, dressed in a full Mio Mio ensemble. She pushed the door open and entered, instantly. The eyes of everyone in the store were drawn to her. Dylan, what are you doing here? Are you here on a field inspection? Cynthia, what are you doing with my boyfriend? Shameless, you two, you're standing so close. As she spoke, Priscilla came over and grabbed Dylan's arm. Dylan, I'm still carrying your child. You know, everyone present, seasoned veterans of the social jungle, immediately picked up on the tension and sensed there was some juicy gossip in the air. Dylan, who's this? The store manager who had reprimanded Dylan last time wore a displeased expression. Priscilla's eyes darted quickly. She swiftly deduced from the form of address that this person outranked Dylan. Hello, you must be Mark. I've heard all about your work for a long time now. I'm such a huge admirer. But then she quickly noticed the name tag on the store manager's chest. Kevin, store manager, and her expression shifted slightly. Her gaze then fell on Dylan's chest. Dylan, junior agent, and her face completely changed. Dylan, she asked, her eyes welling up and her voice trembling. Did you upset Mr. Mark? Is that why he sent you down to the front lines for experience? Dylan's colleague, never one to miss a bit of drama, chimed in. Well, Dylan, a rich kid. You've been keeping that quiet. Dylan, say something, will you? Priscilla's rage finally erupted as Dylan kept his head bowed. You lying bastard. You pretended to be some rich kid to trick me. Dylan, I'm pregnant with your child. Blinded by fury, Priscilla lost all control. She grabbed whatever was in the store and started smashing it. Crystal ashtrays, trophies, water glasses, keyboards, computers, nothing was spared. It wasn't until the police arrived that it ended, and they took both her and Dylan to the station. 9. As an eyewitness at the scene, I also needed to give a statement. I learned from the police that Priscilla was waiting for me downstairs at the hospital that day, somehow. She found out that medical staff get a discount on medication, and she wanted me to use my insurance card to buy her some prenatal vitamins, so she followed me, hoping to catch me in the act and turn me into her personal cash cow. Little did she expect to run into Dylan. Dylan isn't the son of a real estate developer, nor is he from a wealthy family, but he is indeed a local of Haicheng and is quite handsome. At the police station, I saw Dylan's mother. She had sharp, upturned eyebrows and looked fierce and difficult to get along with. Next to her was his blind date, a large, heavy-set woman who also appeared obese and intimidating. They initially mistook me for Priscilla and even tried to hit me with a chair right there in the police station. Even after realizing they had the wrong person, they didn't offer an apology. I'm used to this kind of person. I just wonder what it looks like when they turn on each other. This has nothing to do with my son. That woman broke it. She can pay for it herself. Priscilla, what are you talking about? I'm carrying Dylan's child. Dylan's fiancé. How impressive. You're going to regret this. Priscilla, how dare you hit me? This is a police station. 10. The video from that day was posted online by someone, with its built-in tabloid appeal, involving the L family, a mistress confrontation, pregnancy, and high society drama. It quickly gained massive attention. The female lead, Priscilla, leveraged her striking looks to gain hundreds of thousands of followers, transforming from a little-known model into an internet celebrity. After all, any publicity is good publicity. After that day, I blocked all of Priscilla's contact information and stopped responding to any messages from Bruno. I focused on my work and spent all my free time studying for professional certifications. An influencer was live streaming a medical consultation. She said that despite frequently getting cosmetic treatments like hydrating injections and laser therapy, she always felt her skin was excessively oily. However, our test results showed she actually had dry skin. Oh, this sweetheart is absolutely right. Honestly, searching on Baidu is more reliable than going to the hospital for a checkup. Ha, thank you, how you a sweetheart, for the rocket gift thanks, love you, babe. The glamorous influencer kept interacting with her fans, refusing to cooperate with the doctor's examination and showing no regard for the long line of people waiting behind her. The head of the Gangxia department has a strong preference for male doctors, believing they are stronger, more resilient, smarter, and have brighter prospects. It hasn't been easy for me here. Cynthia, why don't you take her to the inner room for a look? Taking the cue from the department head, I led her to a private examination room. Inside, I asked her if a small amount of milky white residue was left on her face each time she applied toner, to which she replied yes, just like Priscilla. She has excellent skin genetics with a fast cellular turnover rate, which is a major advantage. The downside of this skin type is that even if there's damage at the basal layer, it takes a very long time for the surface to show any signs. It's similar to the genetics of weight. People with a predisposition for obesity gain weight easily, so they tend to watch their diet. Conversely, those with a naturally lean genetic makeup can have conditions like fatty liver disease while still appearing thin externally. Problems only become visibly apparent when the visceral fat accumulation becomes severe. This female influencer is actually a few years older than I am. Consequently, despite investing heavily in aesthetic treatments, her skin issues are gradually becoming more noticeable. I prescribed her a medical-grade makeup remover and toner. I instructed her never to sleep with her makeup on and asked her to return for a follow-up in 28 days, which aligns perfectly with one skin renewal cycle. She glanced at the price. It's so cheap, I'm almost afraid to use it. Hey everyone, this little nurse seems pretty confident. Huh, alright, let me test it out for you all. If it doesn't work, my followers won't let you off the hook. I watched her leave. A month later, she came to the hospital specifically to see me. She said she was feeling much better and asked me to prescribe the medication again. This time, she wasn't live streaming and came wearing a mask, she said when she was younger. She'd live stream all night. Sometimes she was so exhausted she'd just crash without removing her makeup, and her skin never had any issues. She thought she was born for this live streaming life. Who would have thought that in recent years, her skin has been getting itchy all the time. It only started to get better after she used the makeup remover and hydrating mist I recommended. A few days later, I got a friend request from Priscilla. You blocked me, and here I thought you were so impressive. Mickey said the medication you prescribed disfigured her. It cost her a fortune to get it fixed. You should be grateful that Mickey is kind enough to let you off the hook. Oh, by the way, your boyfriend is simping for me now. He took out loans to buy me bags just to get my attention. It seems the influencer circle is a small world. They all know each other. I just couldn't figure out why Priscilla's Mickey would lie. It all made sense when I saw her land that endorsement deal and the astronomical fee that came with it. The influencer agency she endorses is ridiculously expensive but practically useless. It's like serving a single leaf of cabbage on a Michelin star plate, fancy presentation for something that's essentially just hydration. It doesn't solve any real problems. I'm not surprised Bruno did something like this. He's always been clueless about money. I've had to cover for him more often than not. I scrolled up a bit, and all the messages were from Priscilla. Cynthia, can you come pick me up at Wanda Plaza? Cynthia, can you lend me some money? I need to get an abortion, and I want to use your health insurance card. Cynthia, please, I'm begging you, lend me $5,000. I'm really out of options, as if I'd want it. Looks like she's actually making money after becoming an influencer. What's strange is that Dylan's fiancé hasn't come after her. That woman looks like she could be quite a handful. You know, maybe her influencer status, being in the public eye every day, has offered her some protection. 11. Even though Mickey didn't bring me any fame, because I managed to handle many difficult patients like her, the director at Gangxia started to value me highly. He gave me many opportunities and even recommended me for advanced clinical training. As long as I passed the assessment, I even had a chance to become a doctor. I didn't dare to slack off in the slightest. After facing life and death, I finally understood that the most precious things in this world are life and time. I wanted to achieve something in my lifetime and stay away from all those toxic people and messy situations. Occasionally, while scrolling through my phone, I would still come across news about Priscilla. She had landed a few promotional deals, and her career was progressing, yet she's constantly mired in scandals. There are photos and videos of her with different men at high-end venues, and she never addresses the rumors. There's no denying it. Infamy is still a form of fame. I don't really follow Priscilla, but as her popularity surges, I inevitably come across posts about her, and Dylan too. Fake Rich Air asks Priscilla about love. Priscilla, what's the price of affection? In the news story, Dylan is kneeling on the ground, clutching Priscilla's slender right leg. Priscilla has her face turned to the side. chin held high, looking utterly haughty. I also noticed a portly silhouette behind the bushes that bore a striking resemblance to Dylan's fiancé. Fame brings trouble. It wasn't long before Priscilla's rivals posted unflattering photos of her online. In the photos, Priscilla's forehead is covered in a large rash, and her face appears quite swollen, as if she's having an allergic reaction. The clinic that had previously performed Priscilla's skin graft surgery was quick to chime in. Numerous photos of her were released, some even from before the grafts. Her entire face was horrifically burned, a mess of red and purple, with flesh torn open and bone visible in places. It was truly shocking. 12. True to form, Priscilla broke down in public, tearfully explaining that the marks were scars from a childhood house fire. My parents and my little brother all died in that fire, she sobbed. I'm so sorry I lied to everyone. I was never some happy little princess from a perfect family. I'm someone the world abandoned. I just want to live hard, to live fiercely, and to see this world for them. By retreating, she advanced. Once again, Priscilla came out on top. Who could possibly blame someone who, despite being dealt a cruel hand by life, still strives to move forward, far from losing followers, in an era that idolizes the beautiful, strong, and tragic? Priscilla actually gained a significant number of new fans. Priscilla's popularity soared even higher. 13. With Bruno's help. Priscilla came to me again. She was going to the aesthetic clinic Mickey had recommended to treat her skin. Priscilla was in a terrible state, wearing a black face mask. The exposed skin on her forehead was covered in a large rash and swollen bumps that her concealer and foundation could no longer hide. Thinking back, she was probably so caught up in the live-streaming cash grab that, aside from wearing heavy makeup, she was also pulling all-nighters without any restraint. Cynthia. You public servants can get much larger loans. Bruno has already helped me secure one, and you must help me too. I know you're about to take your medical licensing exam. If you don't give me what I want, I will absolutely use my online influence to make sure you can't sit for that exam. Don't test me. I looked at Bruno. That's right. Cynthia, you should help Priscilla. It's been so hard for her, an orphan, trying to make it on her own, and now she's having skin problems. We're both medical students. You can see how serious it is, right? I know you've always been a kind person. His tone shifted. You wouldn't want me to post all this online, would you? He produced private photos of me that he had taken without my knowledge at some point, even though I was mentally prepared. I never imagined he could stoop to such a despicable level. You're threatening me. So my only choice is to help Priscilla secure the loan, right? I have no real choice at all. That's correct, I agreed, gave all my money to Priscilla, and signed an agreement with her to never contact each other again, demanding that Bruno destroy all the photos. I made her swear on her own face, and Priscilla, for the money, consented. 14. In the end, I passed my professional medical licensing exam and gradually built up a solid reputation. I also started a social media account to educate my audience on the differences between skin types, helping them choose skincare products suited to their own skin, and raising awareness about the dangers of not removing makeup. Thanks to my approachable style and professional expertise, I gained a large following of rational, well-informed fans online. I've received a lot of messages in my DMs with words of praise, encouragement, and thanks. My salary has increased significantly, and the success of my self-media channels has also brought in a substantial income. Priscilla has been absent from the public eye for a long time, and I have no idea where she's gone. I usually eat in the hospital cafeteria, and a group of young nurses was sitting at the table next to me. I'm gonna be sick. There were actually maggots under her skin. I'm literally going to puke. Could you not talk about that while we're eating? I also heard she used to be an internet celebrity. She got famous from that whole fake Elle Family Air scandal last year. She had that really innocent girl next door look. Priscilla, the one who hung out with Mickey later on. Yes, that's her. I finally found out in the afternoon what they were talking about. Priscilla was brought in around noon. Under the white sheet was a face ravaged by acid. The person who came with her said it was Priscilla. She'd had sulfuric acid thrown on her, disfiguring her. The acid was thrown by Dylan's wife. I was shocked. Priscilla and Dylan's affair had ended a year ago. Priscilla's recent retreat from the public eye probably gave her the perfect opportunity to strike. There's no way to restore it. The director concluded. There are far deeper issues beneath that layer of skin. Priscilla's face had suffered burns in the past. The repairs were only superficial, leaving underlying inflammation that never healed, compounded by years of heavy concealer and foundation worn without proper removal. The tissue beneath had already begun to necrotize. Now, with the added damage from the strong acid, the corruption is complete, both inside and out. There is absolutely no possibility of recovery. Priscilla let out a faint whisper. Doctor, please help me. Her voice was hoarse. It seemed her vocal cords were damaged too. Priscilla, a figure in white rushed in from the doorway. It was Bruno. Bruno pleaded. Director Wang, I'm begging you, please save Priscilla. Director Wang had always favored the male students and was familiar with Bruno. But at this moment, he could only shake his head in resignation. Prior to this, Bruno had already been fired for repeatedly abandoning his post without permission. Bruno's feelings for Priscilla ran deep. That night, as Priscilla received multiple critical condition notices, Bruno remained steadfastly by her side. 15. The next morning during rounds, Bruno stopped me outside the patient's room. "Cynthia, I need to borrow some more money from you." I didn't say a word. In the past, Bruno had always thrown his weight around, lording his status as a native of Haiching over me. All he really had to his name was a house with a high market value that was impossible to liquidate. He couldn't even rent the place out. "Cynthia, I'm between jobs right now, you know that, and mom's expenses come up every month." I laughed. "Bruno, get this straight. That's your mother, not mine. How can you be so heartless? We were together for so long. You owe me compensation for my wasted youth. Keep this up and I'm calling security." Bruno fell to his knees with a thud at my feet. "Please, Cynthia, have a heart," he pleaded. "Those people come to collect the debt every single day, my mother, and I can't get a moment's peace. Just give me the passbook, and we'll get married right away." I stood there with my arms crossed, my expression unyielding. Bruno's voice grew weaker as he realized he had no real leverage left. In the end, he just broke down in tears. I felt no pity for him whatsoever. In my past life, if he hadn't given false testimony for Priscilla, my parents wouldn't have been saddled with a mountain of debt on my behalf right before retirement, meeting such a tragic end. "Bruno, you're an adult. You made your choice, so now you have to see it through to the end." I pushed the door open and went in. Priscilla was already sitting up. Her face was hidden behind layer upon layer of gauze, yet I got this inexplicable feeling that she was utterly calm. Hearing the footsteps, Priscilla spoke. "Cynthia, I know you've been reborn. You're such a bitch. Why didn't you just stay in that house and die? How much money have you cost me?" The money she's talking about must be what my parents paid her for the luxury goods. After selling our car and house to cover the full original price, that was all my parents' life savings. Every penny they earned from getting up before dawn to sell pancakes used to pay full price for her second-hand luxury items. "Cynthia, you have no idea how hard I worked to become a model and make it to Haiching. You deserve to die." I'm still standing in the doorway. "Is that what you call effort? Setting a fire that killed her entire family?" Priscilla's fist slowly clenched. "I've read the case files on her family. You can find them online. But from that era, the internet wasn't widespread, so no photos survived. I heard your brother wrapped himself in every quilt in the house and jumped from the 4th floor, but he only lasted 2 more days in the ICU. Priscilla, how did you survive that fire? Don't tell me you got scared and ran out early too." She didn't speak, just hung her head low. Suddenly, she began to laugh with a muffled, damaged voice. "Because I wasn't even home. I ran away for a week and no one even looked for me. I just wanted to see their miserable state. How pathetic. They had so much strength to hit me, but lying on the ground, they were just lumps of charred meat. That woman was so vain. All I did was sneak and use her makeup. And she tied me up under the bed for 3 whole days without food or water. At least in the end." That face of hers was completely unrecognizable. Priscilla had only gone to see their corpses, never expecting a burning window frame would come crashing down on her face. She left home and borrowed money for skin grafts. Fortunately, with a pretty face, she could trade on her youth to seize a few opportunities. Having hustled on her own since her teens, Priscilla knew the world judges you by your cover. She never hesitated to spend lavishly on her wardrobe. Her debts kept piling up. "Cynthia, how could someone like you, a good student from a comfortable background, with a smooth path laid out, ever understand? You just have to follow the set course to have a decent life. People like me, we have to rely on ourselves. Cynthia, are you going to the police? It's pointless. I was only 12 years old at the time." Her head snapped up, and through the gauze, I could feel the murderous intent in her gaze. "Cynthia, I truly despise you. I hate people like you who've never known real pain." I called the nurse on duty to check on Priscilla, then rushed to the bathroom and vomited for what felt like an eternity before the nausea finally subsided. As I was leaving the ward, Bruno was just going in. "Priscilla, was everything you just said true?" 16. After finishing my rounds and returning to the office, I found Bruno in a daze. "Cynthia, please, help Priscilla one more time." "How do you want me to help, Cynthia? I can't get any more loans, now that you're a doctor. Your credit limit is much higher. Please help Priscilla. She's still so young. While Priscilla's facial condition can't be completely cured, she still needs skin grafts. The surgery costs $3,000 per square centimeter, not to mention all the follow-up reconstructive procedures and the treatment for her vocal cords. I was with Bruno for years, so it's impossible to say I never had feelings for him. But whatever affection I had vanished the moment he hurt my parents. At this point, the whole thing just feels absurd. Bruno, you're the one who's in love with Priscilla, not me. He no longer had any leverage over me, his face a picture of dejection. 17. That night, I returned to the apartment provided by the hospital. A shoe by the door was askew, and there were mud stains on the carpet. Something was very wrong. Is Bruno really planning to kidnap me for Priscilla's sake? I didn't go inside. Instead, I called the police from the doorway and knocked on my neighbor's door. My neighbor, a new nurse at the same hospital and a fan of my social media, warmly welcomed me in and waited with me for the police to arrive. We followed the officers inside. There, on the living room floor, were the bodies of my two pet hamsters. They had been crushed, their blood and bones smeared across the floor. If I had walked straight in, that would have been me. Finally, we found Priscilla in the bathroom, clutching a kitchen knife. She had torn off her own bandages, revealing a face etched with deep scars and a single, unshielded eyeball. Everyone present was horrified. The police quickly snapped into action, pinning her arms behind her back. Priscilla shot me a look of pure venom. "Cynthia, I hope you die a horrible death. I don't get it. Honestly, I don't understand. Why come after me instead of the person who ruined your face? Is it because I'm an easier target? I just can't stand you. I despise you. You should have dropped dead a long time ago." I ignored her hysterical ranting and started cleaning the house. 18. Bruno came to me and said, "Cynthia, let's get back together. This time, you can move into my place, and we'll make it work." I thought of his cramped, run-down 50-square-meter apartment, facing north and perpetually gloomy, and his frail, hollow-cheeked mother lying on a cooling bed, always eyeing me with a critical look. That way, you won't have to keep renting anymore. You could get a Haiching household registration. We could have lovely children. The apartment provided by my work unit is much better than his place. I've already successfully settled my household registration here. Most importantly, I have no feelings for him left. Enough. Just go. Is there really no going back for us? You take good care of Priscilla." Priscilla was sentenced to several years for attempted murder. After a moment of silence, Bruno said, "Priscilla is gone." He handed over a photograph. "This is the last thing she left in this world." She kept it in her wallet. I remember that black Chanel coin purse. It was a family portrait. A little boy stood in the center, with his parents behind him. The word "dead" was written over each of their heads. The girl standing in the corner must be Priscilla. What sent a chill down my spine was that Priscilla's mother bore an uncanny resemblance to me. A sharp pain shot through my gut. Bruno had stabbed me. "I'm sorry, Cynthia. It was Priscilla's dying wish. You're out of your mind." Luckily, it was the weekend and my colleagues from the hospital were over for dinner. Hearing the commotion, they all came out, and I was saved. Bruno was arrested. And that's when I found out his mother had died last year. Last year, Priscilla had a severe allergic reaction on her face, which hurt her career. With no money to maintain her high-cost lifestyle, Bruno took her into his home. Not long after, Bruno's mother died. It's unclear what either of them did to the bedridden old woman, but in the end, no case was ever filed. I'm not surprised. Those two were habitual liars who could get away with anything. Priscilla is dead, in prison. She was caught using another inmate's towel to wipe the rim of a toilet. A fight broke out, and she was brutally beaten by a stronger female inmate. She later died from an infected wound. Bruno was sentenced to prison for assault. With his debts piling up, the family's only old, run-down house was mortgaged off for a pittance. Years later, after his release, he still had to work to pay off what he owed. "Cynthia, the hot pot's ready." "Come on, my colleagues were calling for me." Steam rose from the bubbling hot pot as my coworkers, a few of my most loyal fans, and even my parents all sat gathered around the table. "Cynthia, you've just recovered. You shouldn't have hot pot. Just have some cabbage." I object. "This won't do. I've been fully recovered for ages." And, story 2, in my past life, I noticed my little nephew shaking his head constantly. I kindly suggested my sister-in-law take him to the hospital for a checkup, but she slapped me across the face, accusing me of cursing her child. On New Year's Eve, our great aunt said the boy showed signs of epilepsy, and only then did my sister-in-law take it seriously after relatives' urging, but she immediately turned around and fed her nephew the superstitious charm water. Later, the boy was indeed diagnosed with epilepsy, and my sister-in-law turned around to blame me for delaying his treatment. When he grew up, that very nephew, egged on by his mother, stabbed me to death. When I opened my eyes again, I'd returned to the day we first discovered his epilepsy. I felt like a boulder was crushing my chest, making it hard to breathe. The moment I opened my eyes, I saw my 8-month-old nephew drooling and chewing on his hand while lying on top of me. "Time to wake Auntie up," my sister-in-law said with a mischievous grin as she stood by the bed. In that instant, an overwhelming wave of hatred surged through me. That little bastard was the one who sent me to meet my maker with a stab in my past life. Perhaps sensing my hostility, my nephew burst into loud wails. Just as the weight lifted from me, I heard my sister-in-law's scolding voice. "Mean auntie, Wanzi won't cry anymore. Mommy will spank Andy for you." My sister-in-law cooed while cradling my nephew, then snapped at me. "How could you be so harsh as an aunt? Wanzi's the only grandson of your precious Stanley family. One, sis." I'd never dare to be harsh with Wanzi. "I adore him too much," I said with an apologetic smile. "He's probably just hungry." After a moment's consideration, my sister-in-law shot me a glare before leaving. I got out of bed and quietly closed the door. Sitting on the bed, I began replaying everything in my mind. Stanley's parents were superstitious. In their previous life, They adopted me as a lucky charm on a Taoist priest's advice. Only after arriving home did I learn about an older brother, 2 or 3 years my senior, and suspected they'd adopted me as a child bride. I pushed myself to the limit to get into an out-of-province university, determined to repay their kindness and sever ties, but when my adoptive mother later messaged me about my brother's wedding invitation, I realized their intentions weren't as vile as I'd assumed. I was utterly ashamed of my own thoughts. The thought of cutting ties vanished without a trace, from her pregnancy to childbirth. I was the one constantly caring for my sister-in-law. After graduation, I handed over half my hard-earned income to my adoptive parents without resentment. They'd raised me for 20 years, though they favored my brother more. They never denied me education or confined me to household servitude. I remain deeply grateful to my adoptive parents. In my past life while caring for my nephew, I noticed his constant nodding and shaking, suddenly recalling medical knowledge I'd studied. Sis-in-law. Wanzi's been shaking his head over 10 times this morning. Could this be epilepsy, you jinx? What kind of aunt are you? What did Wanzi ever do to deserve your curses? Just as expected, my sister-in-law started screaming at me, gritting my teeth. I continued, sis, better safe than sorry. I genuinely have Wanzi's best interests at heart. She spat and retorted, hospitals always turn healthy people into patients. It's just a money grab. Looks like you got kicked in the head by a donkey instead of getting educated. Seeing persuasion was futile, I gave up, resolving to take my nephew for treatment when I was financially able. When my nephew later developed epilepsy symptoms, they cursed me for being a jinx. Then they shamelessly demanded I take responsibility for my nephew's future while I was away studying and working. My sister-in-law secretly made my nephew drink ritual water without my knowledge. That ritual water contained high amounts of cinnabar. Only the ignorant would believe it cures all diseases. This later caused mercury poisoning in my nephew, leading to muscle weakness and neurobehavioral abnormalities. I was consumed with guilt. Had I insisted on taking him to the hospital, maybe he wouldn't have been poisoned. I actually believed I was the one responsible for all this. In my past life, I was foolish enough to be swayed by my adoptive parents' persuasion and agreed without thinking. When I discipline my nephew with strictness, his parents conveniently disappear from the parenting scene. Right after I've finished reprimanding him, they swoop in to play the good guys, taking him to KFC, badmouthing me behind my back, and nurturing his resentment toward me. I've spared no effort to provide my nephew with quality education, encouraging him to be upright and kind while loathing evil, and mobilizing all my connections for his medical care. Little did I know I was the very embodiment of evil in his eyes. As my nephew stabbed me with a knife, my adoptive mother actually helped him by covering my mouth. My adoptive mother tearfully apologized, yet her hands gripped me like iron shackles. In my final moments of consciousness, I heard my sister-in-law scolding, "You fool, why didn't you make her right while leaving everything to you?" With the last of my strength, I managed to ask why. My sister-in-law's voice dripped with jealousy. "Lucky charm, I'll turn your fortune into a dead fish." During dinner, I watched coldly as my adoptive mother picked out the meat, half going to my brother's bowl, half to my adoptive father. I just couldn't understand. Stanley's family wasn't wealthy, but they certainly weren't struggling to make ends meet. Why does adoptive mother always put on this act? She kept saying to divide the dishes between sister-in-law and me, while she just dipped steamed buns in the leftover meat broth. Everyone knows meat prices drop before New Year's. We could easily afford a full meat feast with our family's finances. It took me forever to realize she's putting on a show for me. Once I stepped back as an outsider, all these previously unnoticed schemes suddenly became glaringly obvious. My adoptive mother glanced at me as she spoke. I smirked inwardly, plotting their gruesome demise while outwardly offering my adoptive mother some comforting words. This was a common occurrence in my past life. Each time it happened, I'd silently vowed to earn more money to support my adoptive mother properly, so I was just their cash cow all along. No wonder even my usually difficult sister-in-law stayed quiet. They must have planned this together. The realization made me smirk. My sister-in-law asked suspiciously, "What's so funny?" I took a couple bites of plain rice and said, "It's nothing, just remembered a joke." After the meal, I went to wash dishes while my foster mother watched my nephew play with toys. My sister-in-law sat on the couch scrolling through her phone, while my foster father and brother exchanged a glance before simultaneously stepping outside. As soon as I finished washing dishes, my foster mother urged, "Zoe, come watch the kid right now." I wiped my hands casually on my clothes before stepping out to take my nephew. Watching my nephew, I shook my head intermittently, a cold glint flashing in my eyes. Regarding my nephew's epilepsy, I've decided to adopt a wait-and-see approach. That little monster who killed me without hesitation in my past life deserves no mercy from me. While idling, I suddenly remembered my sister-in-law's last words about having a coy's luck. What exactly did she mean by that? I recalled my adoptive parents took me in to change their fortune. Could there really be such an effect, or is this just superstitious nonsense? Memories of my past life came flooding back to me. My gambling addict adoptive father saw fewer debt collectors knocking after my arrival, while my once ill-fated adoptive mother became the envy of everyone who saw her newfound good fortune. Personally speaking, I don't feel particularly lucky. I decided to test my luck. So I made an excuse to leave my nephew with his foster mother and went downstairs, studying myself as I lived at the lottery shop across the street. I went in and bought a scratch card. I handed the freshly scratched ticket to the shopkeeper, who let out an impressed whoa and remarked on my good luck before promptly transferring the winnings to me, staring at the WeChat notification for the 1,000 yuan transfer. I felt like I'd stepped into another lifetime. What just happened? In my past life, I'd bought scratch-offs too, but every single one turned out to be a dud. After that, I'd sworn off anything to do with prize draws. I'm certain they didn't tamper with me, so why couldn't I win in my past life but can now? The only difference seems to be my attitude toward this family. In my previous life, I was grateful and always thought about repaying them. This time, I've come to my senses and plotted to wipe out this entire family. I hesitated for a moment before leaving the lottery shop and ended up buying a few double color ball tickets. On my way upstairs, I ran into my adoptive father and brother heading home, both puffing on cigarettes as they called out to me from behind. "Zoe, where have you been?" I smiled. "Just bought some scratch-offs at the lottery shop, my coworker won, so I thought I'd try my luck too. There's no hiding this, better to just come clean." Their faces relaxed before turning dismissive. "Zoe," they scoffed, "with your luck, you're just throwing money away." Clutching the lottery ticket over my pounding heart, I feigned discomfort and hurried upstairs. On Lunar New Year's Eve, my foster mother yanked me out of bed at dawn. "Zoe, go trim that bunch of chives. Zoe, go slice the meat." My foster mother fished for the vermicelli that had been soaking since yesterday while bossing me around. I rolled my eyes inwardly. She'd been fussing over that handful of noodles forever without actually retrieving them, probably just washing her hands in the bowl a dozen times by now. Soon aunts and uncles arrived in succession, the adoptive mother and sister-in-law, cradling the little nephew, accepted gifts from relatives while discreetly pocketing the red envelopes elders had tucked into the child's hands. The two women subtly competed over those red packets, each trying to outpace the other in swiftness. Noticing me bustling in the kitchen, Auntie remarked approvingly, "Zoe's really getting the hang of managing a household." The sister-in-law immediately bristled. "Oh her, all she's good for is chopping veggies and cooking." Jiggling the nephew in her arms, she added, "This old Stanley family will all belong to our little dumpling someday, won't it?" My adoptive father and brother ushered the guests to take their seats quickly, too. My adoptive mother urged me to hurry up and bring out the last soup. After finishing up, everyone gathered around the small dining table. When I appeared, my adoptive father awkwardly said, "Zoe, you see," shaking my head cheerfully in anticipation of what was to come. I obediently offered to eat in the kitchen instead. Auntie said, "Zoe is such a sweetheart. Gavin, you've raised a wonderful daughter." Everyone chimed in agreement, though sister-in-law's expression turned sour. A relative teased the little nephew during dinner. "Hey dumpling, is Stanley your daddy?" The toddler giggled adorably at being teased, then shook his head. Seeing the reaction, the aunt got carried away and teased, "Will you make big bucks to buy your dad a mansion someday?" The toddler kept drooling while shaking his head. The atmosphere turned awkward, prompting the surrounding relatives to scatter, some cracking melon seeds, others making small talk. Only my sister-in-law and brother had their faces darken. After cleaning up the dinner mess, my sister-in-law brought over a plate of celery. One glance told me these were just the leftover scraps after someone had picked out all the beef. The leaves were haphazardly scattered from being rummaged through. With a condescending tone, my sister-in-law said, "Eat up, Zoe. Whenever she's in a bad mood, she takes it out on me. As if my misfortune fuels her sense of superiority." I took the plate and set it aside. My slightly tipsy uncle, leaning against the kitchen doorway, chuckled and said, "Girls who eat more celery become more diligent, makes them better marriage material." My sister-in-law chimed in, "That's right, Zoe, a diligent girl always wins her husband's favor in his family." I smiled sweetly. "You have it, sis. I don't care for celery. The more you eat, the more my brother will adore you." Having met with my gentle rebuff, she didn't want to make a scene during the holidays. With a glare, she turned on her heel and left. It wasn't just emotional blackmail. This invisible conditioning, day after day for 20 years, successfully molded me into an eager-to-please lapdog. I thought to myself with self-deprecation, at least all this could still be changed. Uncle's face darkened with displeasure, as if no one had ever dared challenge his authority before. Even in his drunken haze, he was visibly irritated and raised his hand to slap me. I nimbly sidestepped him and said, "Uncle, you're drunk. Let me get you some water." In the living room, the relatives were engaged in the usual competitive chatter, whose son had bought a house, who was getting married soon, and other such comparisons. My sister-in-law's eyes darted when she saw me emerge, then she feigned concern with ill intent, sighing, Zoe's become our family's biggest headache these days. That girl's gotten too high and mighty after a few years of schooling. She's turned up her nose at every suitor I've introduced." Her words visibly soured the mood. None present had made it to college, with middle school being the highest education among them. My adoptive parents hadn't yet moved to town when they first took me in. Within a year of my arrival, they struck gold by capitalizing on local agricultural subsidies, and now my brother manages the family's produce business. Put simply, ours is the most successful household among all our relatives. Auntie's eyes lit up immediately. "Don't you worry, Zoe. I happen to know a few eligible bachelors. Let me introduce you in a couple days." My sister-in-law forced a smile. She'd wanted everyone to gang up on me, but never expected Auntie to jump the gun by offering to set me up with prime candidates right off the bat. No way would she let me have such good fortune. She quickly changed the subject. I should be thanking her. Little does she know, I'm well aware that Auntie's so-called eligible bachelors are either divorced with 2 kids or convicted murderers fresh out of prison. I glanced at my nephew being cuddled and teased in someone's arms, his head bobbing with occasional nods and shakes. As time passed, the group was nearing the moment to depart, just as everyone began the annual ritual of reluctant farewells. Great aunt slowly chimed in following the script from Last Life. "Gavin, I reckon your grandson might have epilepsy." My adoptive father's face darkened as he suppressed his anger, retorting, "That's no joking matter. Could it be your failing eyesight playing tricks on you?" Great aunt coughed twice and declared firmly, "That's exactly how my late husband passed. In his early days, he was just like your grandson." It suddenly dawned on me, no wonder this illiterate old woman had recognized my nephew's epilepsy at a glance in my past life. Even with my medical training, I couldn't have diagnosed it so conclusively. Turns out her childhood sweetheart who died young had suffered from the same condition. My sister-in-law, who doted on that nephew like her own life, immediately snapped. She shrieked and lunged at Great Aunt. "You wretched old hag, you're just jealous I can bear children. How dare you curse my boy? Why don't you drop dead instead?" Everyone was shocked by the venomous words coming from my sister-in-law's mouth. Auntie had only meant to kindly remind her. My eldest brother was equally startled and quickly pulled his wife aside. Auntie was so furious she slammed her cane hard against the ground. My adoptive father's face darkened in silence, while my adoptive mother stood there nervously, at a complete loss. My brother scanned the room before locking eyes on me. Swinging his arm to slap me, I took the hit and crumpled to the ground. "You stupid girl, why didn't you stop your sister-in-law?" I covered my face and slumped to the ground, letting out soft sobs to play the delicate little white flower. My brother's excuse for hitting me was flimsy at best, but he didn't even need a reason, as if I were just some stray cat or dog he could beat without consequence. That slap was my brother's way of saving face for Auntie. My arrogant, self-righteous brother remained completely oblivious to how I'd collapsed before his hand even grazed my face, basking instead in the smug satisfaction of having cowed everyone into silence. His machismo swelled to new heights in that moment. My adoptive mother immediately joined my brother in berating me, until a relative finally intervened. "Enough, can't we talk this through? What kind of people hit children during New Year's?" My adoptive mother flushed with embarrassment. Great aunt stopped her muttered curses about her nephew, then knelt unsteadily to stroke my hair before sighing and walking away. After the relatives left, I covered my face and ducked into my room, which had been converted into my nephew's playroom. I pressed my ear against the door, listening for any movement outside. After a long silence, my adoptive father spoke first. "From what your great aunt said, it doesn't sound made up. Why don't we take Wanzi to the hospital after New Year's?" My sister-in-law immediately interjected, "Nonsense, our Wanzi is the only grandson of the Stanley family. What if the hospital machine's radiation harms him? A little illness can be cured with some blessed water. My brother manages our household finances," he once remarked. "During the pandemic, we spent nearly $1,000 just on medicine. Hospitals just want to make money by ordering all sorts of unnecessary tests. We should listen to Lulu's advice." What my brother doesn't realize is that in their younger days, their physically demanding work kept them robust. During the pandemic, they could recover with just some medication and a few shots, so they rarely fell ill or visited hospitals. But after years of cushy living, their health has declined significantly. Now when illness strikes, it hits them like a ton of bricks. Those seemingly excessive hospital tests aren't just money-grabbing schemes as they assume. The adoptive mother hesitated. "Maybe we should ask Zoe, isn't she studying this field?" A flicker of jealousy flashed in the sister-in-law's eyes as the adoptive father said, "Go call her over." After being summoned by my brother, I stood aside with my face covered and head bowed. The adoptive father asked, "What do you think about taking Wanzi to the hospital? The old man's setting me up with this trap. Just 2 options, good or bad. Either way I answer, I'll end up offending the other 2. But he never acts like this normally. Did he catch me buying lottery tickets?" My heart skipped a beat, then I thought maybe I'm overthinking it. I mumbled obediently, "Whatever you say, Dad. Your sister-in-law says drinking some charm water will cure it. What do you think?" I hesitated for a moment, then spoke with newfound conviction. "Let's follow sister-in-law's advice. She'd never harm Wanzi and has more experience anyway." My adoptive father's scrutinizing gaze shifted away from me, his expression turning satisfied. He probably still thinks I'm the same old Zoe. What exactly gave me away? I reminded myself silently, until I'm certain about severing ties and reclaiming my koi fish destiny. It's wiser not to reveal any cracks in this precarious safety. Seeing I agreed with her plan, my sister-in-law immediately made an urgent phone call. "Hello, Master Morris, it's me. Do you still have any of that miracle cure-all elixir? Just the last bit left." "Perfect. My son's come down with something. I'll come get it tomorrow." The corners of my mouth curled up imperceptibly. Perfect. That day as I passed under the bridge, I encountered a peculiar Taoist priest. He had a long white beard and wore robes unlike ordinary folk, yet strangely no one else seemed to notice him. As I walked by, he suddenly grabbed my arm muttering, "Strange, very strange," his expression first darkening then softening. "Still in time. Thank goodness we're still in time before misfortune strikes," the old priest kept murmuring. Since I couldn't break free anyway, I decided to see what scam he was trying to pull. Since when did fortune-telling become a high-pressure sales tactic? I waited calmly for him to speak, only to be shocked by his opening line. "Young lady, this humble Taoist observes a shift in your destiny, but fortunately, recent developments offer a chance for remedy." I was startled. Could there truly be immortal cultivators in this world? The old Taoist seemed to read my thoughts. Stroking his beard with a smile, "Your destiny bears noble markings, young mistress. Though calamity's star once dimmed your fate's radiance, I've come by heaven's will." A flicker of puzzlement crossed his face. "Strangely, your fate star, nearly consumed, has blazed anew these past days, masking the glint in my eyes." I probed cautiously. "Then what would the venerable master advise me to do?" The old priest laughed heartily, his tone layered with meaning. "Simply follow your heart." I nodded in understanding, letting go of my apprehension. I'd been worried these supernatural forces might interfere with my plans, but since that's the case, I'll proceed as planned and sever ties with this family, let them reap what they've sown. After parting ways with the old Taoist priest, I carried the groceries back home. My sister-in-law told me to wash my nephew's baby bottle, 3, as I rinsed slowly under the faucet. The grayish residue flowing out told me my sister-in-law had already given my nephew the ritual charm water. It's now 1 p.m., and the next feeding time for my nephew will be around 3 or 4 o'clock. I carried on with my usual routine of household chores and childcare. Around 3 o'clock, my nephew started fussing, so I settled him in his high chair to prepare his baby food. I drained the cooked rice noodles, added a few drops of walnut oil, then portioned out a small bowl and stirred it to warm temperature before heading to feed my nephew. Just then my sister-in-law came out. Seeing this, she immediately shoved me aside. Before I could react, she slapped me. The noodles splattered across the high chair as my nephew started wailing uncontrollably. "Zoe, what's wrong with you? Can't stand seeing your nephew happy. Is that it?" My adoptive mother rushed over at the commotion, seeing the spilled noodles. She assumed my sister-in-law was scolding me for feeding the boy improperly and chimed in, "Honestly, Zoe, how hard is it to feed Wanzi? I don't even know what to say about you." I clutched the silicone spoon, covering my face and mumbling in timid silence. Before she could finish, my sister-in-law exploded. "How could you be so vicious, Zoe? Do you have any idea how hard it was to get this blessed water?" She finally hurled a threat. "If you dare interrupt Wanzi's purification ritual, you'll regret it." The mention of feeding my nephew holy water left my adoptive mother speechless. She was utterly dumbfounded by the absurdity. "Lena, dear, how can little Wanzi possibly grow without eating anything?" she pleaded with genuine concern. My brother emerged, rubbing his eyes, clearly woken by the commotion, and snapped impatiently, "Mom, give it a rest already. Lena would never harm her own child. Why don't you go join your square dancing group instead of making trouble here?" Seeing my brother take her side, sister-in-law Lena immediately grew more confident. The adoptive mother, betrayed by her own son, looked at me helplessly, hoping I'd join in persuading him. I sneered, "Now they remember me," but forcing out a few tears, I insisted, "Sis, I swear I'd never harm Wanzi, but a child this young can't possibly go without food." Hearing about withholding food from Wanzi, my brother finally took it seriously. "Lena, what's going on?" he demanded. A flicker of guilt crossed my sister-in-law's face, but she doubled down. "Master Morris said one day of blessed talisman water will cleanse Wanzi's bad energy and cure her." I'm speechless. I bet she didn't even tell that so-called immortal how old our nephew is. Even if my sister-in-law doesn't know the talisman water contains toxic mercury from cinnabar, how could my brother not know? To my utter astonishment, instead of scolding her, My brother actually nodded in agreement with my sister-in-law's nonsense. I drank talisman water as a child too when I was sick. Skipping one meal won't hurt him. Don't worry, Mom. My adoptive mother hesitated to speak. Since Wanzi was born, she and I have handled everything for him, big and small. My brother knows nothing about his own son's dietary needs. No wonder he could spout such brainless nonsense. Then, could sister-in-law give me the charm? I'll prepare it for nephew, I said meekly. My sister-in-law shot me a triumphant look while clutching her son, then whisked him protectively to her room, throwing over her shoulder, "Zoe, don't even think about touching your nephew's sacred charm. I'll take care of my own son. Who knows what ulterior motives you have with all this sudden helpfulness? It's laughable. If she truly cared about her nephew, she wouldn't dump him on me every single day without lifting a finger. But since she won't let me handle the kid, I'm more than happy to stay out of it." The little one cried nonstop that night and only quieted down after his first feeding the next morning. My sister-in-law shoved the baby at me at dawn, her face drawn with exhaustion and irritation. The child had been crying almost all night and was now visibly exhausted, with flushed cheeks and dried tear streaks crusted around the eyes, while deftly feeding my nephew. I used a corner of a damp tissue to wipe his face, but the baby's delicate skin made it hard to remove the dried tear stains, and he started wailing again, seizing the opportunity to berate me. My sister-in-law pointed and shouted, "Zoe, do you think you'll inherit the family fortune if Maruko dies? Let me make this clear, everything in Stanley's family will belong to my son. Consider it the honor of your life that you're even allowed to care for him." That's what she said, but she showed absolutely no intention of taking her nephew into her arms. My adoptive father was woken by her shrewish outburst at dawn. He came out frowning and gave me a suspicious glance, probably suspecting I had designs on the family fortune too. I'm a designer at a jewelry company. Though someone in my situation could never afford design school, I originally joined as a clerk, inspired by my surroundings. I once sketched a design and left it on my desk. That night, our workaholic VP came down to turn off the lights. My workstation happened to be right by the switch. By sheer coincidence, my design caught the attention of the deputy director. Around this time in my previous life, my career began gaining momentum and I gradually developed real competence. When the whole family sided with my sister-in-law pressuring me to take responsibility for my nephew, I agreed partly out of obligation, but also because I finally had the means to do so. Looking back, I was too naive to hide my success, fresh from a promotion and raise. I eagerly shared the news with my parents during New Year's, blinded by joy at finally being able to repay their kindness. I completely missed my sister-in-law's twisted jealousy and the others' poorly concealed mixed reactions. They certainly weren't happy for me. I must have been blind in my past life to have missed all the signs. Before I returned this time, everything followed its original course. My design caught the VP's eye, was proposed as next season's flagship jewelry at the next day's meeting, and I rose from an obscure clerk to a jewelry designer. It was sheer luck that the VP happened to come by to turn off the lights. Had it been a supervisor or such, I doubt the design would have been credited to me. Since my rebirth, I've leveraged my foreknowledge to create the works that later made me famous, then traded a futuristic technique for company shares. Honestly, Stanley's family's petty schemes don't even register on my radar now, but mark my words, they'll vomit up every single penny they've taken from me. The entire day after feeding, the family kept covert and overt watch over their nephew. As night fell, my sister-in-law strutted like a victorious rooster, boasting proudly, "See, I told you Morris, the divine's gifts are things countless people beg for in vain. Look at Wanzi today. Barely any head shaking. What does that mean?" That old widow claimed Wanzi had epilepsy, but it's clearly cured now. Oh, if only that bitter old widow knew her third son, dead from epilepsy ages ago, could have been healed with just one divine talisman. Can you imagine her regret? Sister-in-law crowed triumphantly. The superstitious Stanley family watched Wanzi's steady head with visible satisfaction. Lena's right. This was money well spent. Beats hospital treatment any day. Remember my minor cold, for drips did nothing. But one sip of Ma's holy talisman water fixed me right up. Little did they know, the nephew wasn't cured at all. He was simply too weak from starvation to even shake his head. Only the foster mother hesitated to speak, but refrained from dampening the cheerful atmosphere. What she didn't realize was that without our intervention, the sister-in-law would increasingly resort to feeding the nephew magic water charms for every minor ailment. At first, his immune system could still fight it off. The toxins accumulated in my nephew's body until it could bear no more, breaking him down completely. His grandmother, who knew something was wrong yet stayed silent, was the perpetrator. His mother, blindly trusting folk remedies, was the perpetrator. But worst of all were his father and grandfather, those aloof spectators who only emerged to blame everyone after the damage was done, and I, the aunt who exhausted herself caring for his health and education. became the only true victim in this tragedy. After he grew up, my nephew spent most of his time with me. I called in favors and owed debts to secure him better educational opportunities. Whenever he showed the slightest interest in piano or art, I'd spare no expense hiring tutors to teach him at home, always mindful of his fragile self-esteem. The chronic cinnabar poisoning left him with muscle weakness. He drooled uncontrollably, needed assistance climbing stairs, and suffered frequent emotional outbursts. Years of privileged living had lent an air of aristocratic refinement to his otherwise unremarkable features inherited from his parents. The condition caused occasional facial numbness, making him even more reserved. His perpetual frosty demeanor and social withdrawal, originally stemming from insecurity, were skillfully rebranded as an unattainable elegance, earning him somewhat of a reputation. I painstakingly laid the groundwork solely to remove obstacles for his future career and marriage prospects, yet under his mother's influence, my nephew came to believe I was the root cause of all his misfortunes. His initial politeness gradually morphed into entitlement and condescension. The irony, I actually felt glad, mistaking his behavior for finally warming up to me. After my nephew grew more sensible, I suggested having his mother move in with us out of pity. She barely saw him each year, but he refused, saying she'd already burdened me enough and shouldn't trouble me further. Deeply moved, I became even more devoted to him. Little did I know they conspired to exploit familial bonds, grooming him as the rightful heir to my estate. I recalled how in my past life, my nephew suddenly lost control and stabbed me to death while my sister-in-law kept screaming about my will. Back then, I had decided to donate my entire estate after death to help more girls. They needed the money far more than my nephew's family. That's why I drafted my will early. When my nephew made those remarks, I hesitated about adding his name to the will. Not long after the stabbing happened, the will clearly stated all assets would be donated. They probably didn't get a single penny in the end, ended up with nothing but wasted effort. I curled the corner of my lips. My sister-in-law spotted it immediately and shrieked, "Zoe, what are you smirking at? You actually enjoy seeing your nephew suffer, don't you?" My adoptive parents glared at me with disgust and snapped, "Zoe, that's utterly unacceptable. Apologize to your sister-in-law right now." A glint of greed flashed in my sister-in-law's eyes as she said arrogantly, "Zoe, I won't demand an apology. Just buy me an apartment in the provincial capital, and we'll call it even." I nearly laughed in disbelief. What an idiot. If she wanted me to buy property, she could have at least used my brother or nephew as an excuse. My adoptive mother shot her a disapproving glare. To her, this woman was an outsider while I was family. Why should I buy a house for her? At the very least, it should be for my brother. My adoptive father rolled his eyes tactfully and diffused the tension. "Zoe, you see how cramped this place is. Why don't you buy a new place so your brother and his wife can move out?" The adoptive mother hastily added, terrified her grandson might miss out, "Put the property under Wanzi's name." With tears welling up, I said, "Mom, Dad, sis-in-law, it's not that I don't want to buy it for you, but with my $3,500 monthly salary, half of which already goes to supporting you, how could I possibly afford it?" Guilt flashed across the adoptive parents' faces upon hearing this. My sister-in-law dismissed it casually, "Just take out a loan." My adoptive parents seemed tempted, and when my brother overheard us discussing the property purchase, he jumped in with dollar signs in his eyes. He subtly nudged them, and soon they were all pressuring me to take out a loan for my nephew's house. I pretended to hesitate before finally relenting with apparent reluctance. They exchanged glances, faces lit up with glee. I smirked inwardly. Let them have their house, if they can handle what's coming. The company VP called me, and I casually tapped to put it on speakerphone. "Boss." "What? That interest-free loan thing? Why are you telling me this? Seriously?" My coworkers pretended to focus on their work while practically staring daggers at me. "It's legit, straight from corporate. I've got high hopes for you. Zoe, think this opportunity over carefully." Clutching the receiver, I headed for the balcony when my sister-in-law lunged forward and snatched the phone from my hand. Before I could react, she'd already agreed to it on my behalf. As the call ended, I feigned anger but remained my usual pushover self, eventually dropping the subject after their relentless persuasion. My adoptive father, sharp enough to have built his business by catching early trends, asked, "Zoe, who exactly is this boss of yours? Is that loan deal even legit?" I clasped my hands and replied, "Our branch president shares the same surname with the headquarters chairman." With meaningful emphasis, I continued, "After 5 years with the company, I think the boss has taken a liking to me." He called me with what sounded like undisclosed insider information. A bashful, girlish flush spread across my face. My sister-in-law's face contorted as her nails suddenly dug into my flesh. "What are you doing?" I yelped in pain. She hastily released my hand and tried to compose herself, but the transition was as graceless as a car swerving back into lane after an ill-advised overtake. Nothing but sheer awkwardness. My adoptive father shot a disdainful glance at this foolish daughter-in-law. She couldn't comprehend how much influence I, as a daughter of Stanley's family, could bring by marrying the CEO of a jewelry empire, high society, luxury cars, beautiful women. While my adoptive father burned with ambition, my adoptive mother had mixed feelings. There might be some maternal love there. She wanted me to prosper, but not too much. Yet she still joined my father in probing me for information. He wore a pleasant smile, while her tone turned noticeably sharp. I pretended not to hear and answered honestly, I only met H.L. recently. He admires my talents and has been very kind to me. My sister-in-law sneered sarcastically. What talents could you possibly have? I blinked innocently like a clueless little flower and said sweetly, I don't know, maybe he just likes me the way I am. Our boss is even listed on Baidu Baiki with an impressive resume. And our company's registration is publicly verifiable. This managed to partially alleviate my adoptive father's suspicions, but how could he know this was actually a staged act I'd orchestrated with the boss? The interest-free loan did exist, just not the way they imagined. It was actually a wuxy loan for a local jeweler facing cash flow issues when they defaulted and the assets went to court auction. The boss sent me there on a business trip to evaluate their technical capabilities. Their misinterpretation of it as an interest-free loan works in my favor. If things go south, I can always claim it was just a routine business trip to the police. After all, I was only ever talking about business trips arranged by the company. Honestly, if they just paid more attention to the news, this crude information gap tactic wouldn't have fooled them. Pity our family's decision-maker only has live streams of pretty girls on his phone. In the following days, I'd occasionally call the boss, sometimes pretending to hide while still letting whispers of conversation be overheard, just enough to make our supposed romantic relationship seem believable. My usually cautious adoptive father finally agreed to be the guarantor, swayed by visions of luxury and my brother and sister-in-law's persistent persuasion. My adoptive father was cautious his entire life. I only learned the secret of my adoption on my deathbed in my past life. Yet not a whisper ever leaked out. As a self-made businessman, prudence was practically etched into his bones, yet it was his own wife, my hopelessly romantic adoptive mother who'd spent her life love-struck, that finally prioritized our grandson's interests over his. It took her persuasion to make him sign that contract. On signing day, I deliberately kept things low-key. We treated it like grocery shopping or grabbing a meal. Just another mundane errand. This undoubtedly made them feel that taking out $1 million loan wasn't such a big deal. After I signed my name, my adoptive father picked it up and reviewed it several times to confirm everything was correct. He then took the pen and signed his name on another sheet of paper. Why is there another one? My adoptive father asked in confusion. The pen hovered frozen in hesitation. My heart leaped into my throat, terrified he might spot the flaw. Yet under the insistent prodding of his allies, his son and daughter-in-law, the signature was reluctantly scrawled. The black-suited man remained stone-faced as he filed the documents away. His parting glance carried unspoken weight. I averted my gaze from him to the phone. Wow, the money came through this fast. My sister-in-law snatched my phone impatiently, counting the zeros under her breath. 1, 2, 3, honey, look. There are 6 zeros. The group was lost in euphoria. Completely missing the smirk playing on my lips, this card was opened years ago using my foster mother's ID. If it were under my name, why would there be a neat row of 6 zeros? That very afternoon, the euphoric group marched into the sales office, immediately demanding to purchase the crown jewel property. The sales agent greeted them with a polite smile. I'm sorry, sir, our premium units start at 10 million, for a 1 million budget. Perhaps you'd like to consider these options. She gestured toward the display models in the northwest corner. The group's expressions darkened. My brother, stunned by the perceived slight with adolescent pride, flushed crimson and dragged me to a corner. Zoe, can you still get that loan? He blurted out impatiently, his eyes burning with manic intensity. Like a gambler, with hurt resentment on my face. I lowered my head and said calmly, no can do, bro. I've already taken out a loan. The boss said each person only gets one chance. Doesn't that boss have a thing for you? Just sleep with him and it's done. Realizing he'd gone too far, he pleaded, Zoe, I've never asked you for anything before. Just do me this one favor. Go sweet-talk the boss into approving another loan for you. Make it 10 million. No, 20 million. Perfect. Go ahead and take the loan. Let's see how you'll pay it back. I whimpered, bro, let me go. I'm telling Dad. With that, I broke free and ran to complain to my adoptive father. After some hesitation, my adoptive parents actually suggested I sleep with the boss to secure a 50 million loan. Zoe, doesn't the boss fancy you? Why not sleep with him and have his child? You could marry up through the baby, get us that 50 million loan. You know I started as a businessman. With that money, paying it back would be a piece of cake. I flat out refused. Mom, Dad, Have you lost your minds? If I do this, Dylan would never marry me. No way. I won't allow it. My sister-in-law gloated maliciously. Zoe, take my advice. Men care most about heirs. Just get pregnant by that boss and he'll have to marry you, even if he doesn't. With that 50 million, you could still settle down with some nice, simple guy. I'd grown accustomed to my sister-in-law's jealousy. While she preached that a woman's virtue lies in her lack of talent and married my brother young to bear his son, she couldn't hide her envy that I'd graduated college, built a career, and now caught the eye of a higher-class man, jealous of my golden luck, jealous that I stood on my own 2 feet. This jealousy will eventually turn into a dagger pointed at her own heart. I choked back sobs before finally agreeing. Sister-in-law's face was brimming with malicious glee. I didn't return home until the next day after an all-night gaming session at the hotel. The moment I stepped in, everyone swarmed around asking, "Zoe, how did it go?" With disheveled hair and a nearly broken voice, I said, "The boss agreed, but you'll need to secure the loan yourselves. We'll just give you a nominal position at our company." My adoptive parents immediately understood this was the best outcome we could hope for, even if I pleaded further. They then shooed me off to cook while they huddled together to discuss. I stirred the moldy rice into the pot to boil. In the end, they all agreed to take out loans. I kept silent, watching them dig their own graves. Just then, my nephew started throwing another tantrum. I picked him up with concern and said, "Sis-in-law, I think nephew might be running a fever." Waving her hand impatiently, she replied, "The charm paper's in my bedroom drawer. Get it yourself and prepare the blessed water for Wanzi to drink." I nodded obediently, poured the charm-infused water into a baby bottle, but the little one only took a few sips before wailing again. I said helplessly, "It's not working, sis-in-law. Wanzi won't drink it. Useless. Can't even handle such a simple task. Bring Wanzhou here. I'll feed him myself." I watched as my sister-in-law impatiently shoved the pacifier into the sobbing toddler's mouth, pushing it so deep it nearly reached his throat. With practiced nonchalance, I adjusted my button, the one concealing the micro camera, for, my adoptive mother said with concern, "Lena, this isn't the right way to feed a child." Obsessed with the 50 million, my sister-in-law shoved the baby into the foster mother's arms for feeding without hesitation. The foster mother coaxed the child gently to drink the charm-laced water. I'd expected her to breastfeed the baby, yet she fed him poison under the guise of love, perhaps from hunger. The baby drank the charm water obediently. As soon as my nephew fell asleep, the whole family couldn't wait for me to summon the guy who signed the contract last time. I went with the flow and followed procedure to the letter. The man in the black suit gave us a puzzled look, as if wondering how these people could still smile while drowning in massive debt. The funds were then transferred. They swaggered into the sales office, demanding the crown jewel penthouse again. The salesgirl remained unflustered by their insults, even flashing a hint of delight as she respectfully guided them through signing in payment. "Cash payment," declared the adoptive father triumphantly. The sales staff's eyes gleamed at the sight of this cash cow. Later, my brother went to pick up a luxury car. My adoptive mother and sister-in-law went luxury shopping, feigning exhaustion. I excused myself to prepare the severance agreement. That evening, I hired 2 bodyguards and waited under dim lighting for their return. They burst in laughing with armfuls of shopping bags, then froze seeing the stone-faced enforcers behind me. "Zoe," my adoptive mother stammered, "what's the meaning of this?" I remained silent, leaving them standing there awkwardly. My sister-in-law shifted her high heels impatiently before snapping, "Zoe, what the hell are you trying to pull?" With a wave of my hand, 2 bodyguards moved in to restrain them. I sauntered over and delivered a stinging slap across her face. A sharp, crisp sound rang out. My sister-in-law's face froze in disbelief, as did my adoptive mother who'd been shoved aside. As she approached to reason with me, I cut in first. "Mom, I don't want to hit you." My adoptive mother stood motionless. My sister-in-law let out a piercing shriek. I backhanded her again. "TCH, so noisy, keep screaming. Why don't you cat gog your tongue?" Grabbing her hair, I rained alternating slaps across her pampered face, now even fairer and more delicate than before. Her initial screams and curses gradually turned to pleading. I didn't stop until I'd had my fill, admiring her swollen pig-like face with satisfaction. A freshly pampered face sure feels different, much bouncier than regular ones. My sister-in-law shot me another murderous glare, so I raised my hand threateningly. She instantly ducked her head to hide her expression, only for me to pat her cheek mockingly. My adoptive mother stood there dumbstruck, but to her, this daughter-in-law was just an outsider not worth making a fuss over, so she kept silent as a mouse, anxiously waiting for someone to show up and back her up. The adoptive father froze at the sight of the chaos upon returning home. His usually spoiled daughter-in-law lay collapsed on the floor, while the meek, docile wife rushed into his arms like a swallow returning to its nest. Before he could even greet his wife, I lost patience and cut straight to the chase. "Sign this agreement, or I'll have the boss reclaim that 50 million. He stiffened, his face turning cold as he tried to assert his patriarchal authority. "Zoe, what's the meaning of this?" I snapped. "Sign it or not. If not, I'm calling the boss right now." My adoptive father cast a wary glance at the black-suited bodyguard standing beside me. Needless to say, he could take on 3 of them single-handedly. He snatched the agreement from the table, his face darkening instantly. "You're cutting ties with us." "Why?" In his panic, his voice turned shrill like my sister-in-law's. As things were winding down, I couldn't be bothered to keep pretending anymore. "Don't act like you don't know why you adopted me. I've had enough of this. Cut the crap. Sign it or I'll have the boss reclaim that money." Seeing that I'd learned the truth, my adoptive father's expression darkened. Realizing emotional manipulation wouldn't work on me, he began hesitating. My sister-in-law and brother egged him on. "Dad, how dare Zoe threaten you? She won't take care of you and Mom in your old age anyway. Cut ties if we must. So what if she's got that lucky koi destiny? We've got the 50 million, having tasted the luxury money could buy." They weren't about to let this windfall slip through their fingers. Only my adoptive mother hesitated slightly. "Zoe," I turned a deaf ear. Only hearing my adoptive father say greedily, "Terminating the relationship is fine, but you'll have to repay all the upbringing expenses we've spent on you over the years." I laughed. Ever since middle school, I'd covered all my expenses by running errands and reselling snacks for classmates, with both parents alive. I wasn't even eligible for any assistance programs. If it weren't for my academic excellence getting my high school tuition waived and consistently topping exams for scholarships, whether I could have continued schooling would have been questionable. I haven't asked them for a single penny since college. After a moment's thought, I pulled out $1,000 from my bag and threw it in my adoptive father's face. Watching the flush rise on his face and his clenched fists, I felt even more convinced that hiring 2 bodyguards was money well spent. I gave my adoptive father a faint smile, pleased to see his breathing grow heavier. My brother kept nagging beside me. Buzzing like an annoying fly, my foster father swung his arm and slapped my brother across the face. My brother froze, and so did I. My foster mother shrieked. This timid woman who'd spent her life in submission now lunged at her husband for the son she'd devoted her life to. The adoptive father froze for a split second mid-beating, then yanked the adoptive mother down and shoved her violently to the ground, still seething. He slapped her face repeatedly with brutal force. "Mom, you're really something, always provoking Dad like this," my brother grumbled, his hand covering his stinging cheek. At these words, the struggling adoptive mother went limp, surrendering to his rage. After a long silence, muffled sobs finally broke the stillness. The adoptive father, feeling his authority threatened, kicked her again and spat. "What the hell are you crying for? One more whimper and I'll beat you dead." I watched the farce unfold with cold detachment, tapping the table. "Had enough fun. Sign here if there are no issues." My adoptive father gave me a vicious grin as he snatched the pen, pressing down hard enough to nearly tear the paper. I examined the document, verified its contents, then folded and pocketed it. At that moment, I felt something inside me snap. Nodding in satisfaction, I said with mock compassion, "You'd better take your nephew to the hospital later." With all this commotion and he's not even crying, the fever must have fried his brains. My sister-in-law glared at me with pure venom. I flashed her a vicious grin. "Zoe, what are you doing?" Before leaving, he slapped her several more times before finally stopping. The internet was flooded with smear campaigns against me. Headlines like Minghuan Company employee Zoe abandons parents after getting rich, shocking filial betrayal, Zoe owes loan sharks, Zoe slept her way to the top. My coworkers suddenly started giving me strange looks, people claiming to be my relatives. Neighbors or classmates kept popping up everywhere. The colleagues who never got along with me huddled in the break room, whispering, "Do you think Zoe, is it really true?" Ugh, I heard it was her own adoptive parents who came forward to expose her. What kind of grudge could make them do that? She must have really messed up. Plus, Zoe started as just a clerk, who knows how she suddenly became a designer. We'd better keep our distance from her. Anyone who'd take out a loan shark deal can't be a decent person. I cleared my throat politely and stepped out from around the corner. With a smile, I said, "If you want to know the truth, you could just ask me directly instead of." Glancing around, I took a sip of coffee and chuckled. Not bad coffee. After a few steps, someone muttered under their breath in protest, "Who does she think she is? Look at them, too cowardly to act openly. Just stirring up drama online. How could this possibly affect my job? I'm just a designer, not some public figure. Besides, I'm a technical shareholder. Firing me wouldn't be that simple. Every executive here is shrewd enough to know that. But thinking about my upcoming stellar collection, I decided to set the record straight and build hype for my work. The fallout from this incident keeps escalating, and the higher-ups are demanding an explanation from me." The boss gave me a wry smile. "Zoe, are you confident about handling this? My better half's been giving me hell lately. If we don't provide answers, corporate won't be pleased." I replied calmly, "Don't worry, boss, I'll deliver a satisfactory resolution." Then with downcast eyes, I made the decisive call, "Let's hold a press conference." The press conference was packed with journalists, and right at center stage sat the smug quartet, 5. I sat up straight with a composed smile. "Well, MS. Zoe be apologizing to her adoptive parents at today's press conference. That depends on what kind of people these adoptive parents are. I think contemplation. The crowd was visibly stunned by my audacity. They'd never seen such an ungrateful wretch. Rumors are circulating online that MS. Zoe took out massive high-interest loans. Can you confirm if this is true? The real loan shark borrower is someone else entirely. The smug grins on Stanley's family members' faces froze the moment they saw reporters putting me on the spot, but with no way to confront me directly, they could only seethe in silence, their faces turning ashen. Dad, you look upset. Is there something you want to say? The adoptive father gave his sister-in-law a meaningful look, and she immediately understood. Taking the microphone being handed to her, Zoe, the sister-in-law began with a choked voice. I don't know how I've offended you. At home, we never made you lift a finger and always gave you, our adopted daughter, the best food first. I know you resent me, but whatever grudge you have, take it out on me. Why would you harm your own nephew? As she spoke, the prearranged photos conveniently fell out. The reporter picked it up curiously. Then her expression changed slightly before passing it to others. Soon everyone had seen the photo of an 8-month-old baby lying in a hospital bed. A female journalist asked through gritted teeth, Miss Zoe, why would you harm a child under 1 year old? I smiled and turned to have my assistant play a video. The video shows my sister-in-law impatiently forcing talisman water down my nephew's throat while I desperately try to stop her. The room fell silent for a moment as camera flashes erupted, not aimed at me, but at Stanley's family whose faces had turned ghostly pale. We've been played like pawns. That single thought echoed through everyone's mind, but this is a society governed by law. They couldn't take direct action. Instead, the crowd encircled Stanley's family, all eyes burning into me, willing me to give voice to their outrage. With a triumphant smile, I said, enjoying that 50 million loan shark money. Stanley's family nearly fainted on the spot, but the press conference was only halfway through. All right, now that everyone knows the truth, let's get to today's main agenda. The video was followed by a pre-prepared PowerPoint presentation. I stood up and effortlessly delivered my points with the laser pointer. Gradually, the audience became fully engrossed in my presentation. A pair of intense eyes followed my every move. I knew exactly who it was without looking. Soon they'll lose their chance to lay eyes on me forever. That concludes today's launch event. I hope you'll follow my stellar collection designs closely. I'm Zoe, the designer. The final slide broke from tradition. Instead of thank you, it displayed the stars shine for me against a backdrop of a lady's ring. When the launch video went viral online, it reignited controversy, leaving Stanley's family members practically being shunned by everyone. The Starry River jewelry collection became an instant hit as I predicted, with the flagship Radiant Women's ring setting a company sales record. When Tyler grew up and came to see me, his frail physique stood at barely 1.7 meters, a far cry from his previous life's nearly 1.8-meter stature. He cowered like a frightened mouse. His sallow face twitched as he periodically dabbed at drool with a handkerchief. At first I thought he was some beggar, and was about to pull out my wallet to give him some change. He pleaded, Auntie, I was wrong. Could you take me with you? My guard went up instantly. I hadn't forgotten how I died in my past life. Looking closely, Tyler's expression betrayed a barely contained madness beneath the surface. I discreetly tapped my phone to call for help while calming him down. You remember everything now. He nodded silently, then pleaded anxiously, Auntie, please, take me away from here. He kept glancing around with nervous unease. I tried to distract him with small talk. How are your parents doing? He let out a dark chuckle. Dead, of course. Now my aunt can put me in her will. Greed flickered in his eyes as he added, make sure the inheritance goes to me, just as insatiably greedy as the rest of Stanley's family, from what I know, after splurging on houses, cars, and luxury goods. Most of that 50 million went into hiring trolls and buying trending topics to smear me. Unable to repay the loan sharks, they desperately clung to their remaining 5 million as a lifeline, hoping to turn their fortunes around through business ventures, but they'd forgotten, without my golden luck, their tarnished reputation doomed every venture to failure. As their funds dwindled day by day, their initial indifference gave way to restless anxiety, just as debt collectors began pounding on their door, with no other choice. The family sold their house and car at rock-bottom prices. Slipping back into their former hardships, after paying off some debts with that money, they still owed a substantial amount. A brief period of calm was shattered when people took notice of their remaining funds. Lured back by the casino's deliberate temptations, my adoptive father and brother returned to their old ways of squandering everything through gambling. They were counting on one big win to turn their fortunes around. My sister-in-law initially hoped to salvage what little money remained from my brother for their son, but when the pair descended deeper into gambling addiction, even stealing and pawning her and our adoptive mother's jewelry, she realized extracting money from these two desperate wolves was harder than scaling the heavens, so she decisively stole the savings passbook and similar valuables before abandoning her nephew and fleeing, though my nephew stopped drinking the charm water. The toxins from his early years had already wreaked irreversible damage on his fragile body. That fateful high fever, as if by divine intervention, left him with the same affliction from his past life. When the casino realized they couldn't squeeze any more money from the pair, they turned to organ trafficking. My brother pleaded desperately, "No, don't touch me. I've still got a young son and an elderly mother you can take instead." Even my adoptive father showed a rare flicker of humanity. His conscience stirring, "Kill me if you must, just leave the others alone." The casino enforcers didn't care about excuses. They immediately sent thugs to seize my adoptive mother and nephew. Little did they know my reincarnated nephew would slit their throats in one swift stroke. That was the exact moment I'd been murdered in my past life. My adoptive mother let out a choked scream seeing her murderous nephew, who kept muttering like a caged beast, "Where's the money, Auntie? Where's my money?" My adoptive mother didn't dare make a move, but she pointed out my workplace to my nephew. "Your aunt's living the high life now. She's abandoned us completely. It's all her fault, all her fault." The adoptive mother muttered these deranged words with such conviction she almost believed them herself. I noticed the bloodstain on my nephew's shirt hem. The wail of police sirens was already audible in the distance. Feeling somewhat reassured, I enunciated each word deliberately. "In your dreams." My nephew uncontrollably raised the dagger, tears and mucus streaming down his face, and, sob, "I'm sorry. It's all your fault," sob. Then a crimson blossom exploded before my eyes. A gaping hole appeared in my nephew's forehead as the dagger clattered to the ground and his body collapsed toward me. I calmly stepped aside, letting perfectly timed tears streak my face as the officer's voice reached me. "Ma'am, are you all right?" At the police station, every officer gave me sympathetic looks while taking my statement. That incident caused quite the online uproar back then. An old detective asked me about the loan sharking. I replied blankly. "They first had me borrow, then later took out another loan themselves." "Right, they made me borrow, but with a dual contract scam, their own borrowing, just another setup. I'm not lying." The veteran cop stared at me for a long moment before sighing and letting me go. After returning, I sent an anonymous tip to the police exposing the local crime syndicate's organ trafficking operations. Rumor has it the police eventually rescued my adoptive father and brother, then shut down the local gambling dens and other illegal establishments based on their testimonies. After this incident, the entire company showered me with affection. Over the years, riding on my lucky streak, I've smoothly climbed to upper management, yet many greenhorn juniors still cautiously comfort me in their own ways. Smiling at the 50 million lottery deposit in my bank account, I contacted relevant organizations and donated every cent. During the interview, the journalist praised me as a lotus blooming from muddy waters. They marveled at my generosity too, how an ordinary person could donate 50 million without batting an eye. This video has gone viral. The jewelry I designed has seen another sales boost. I wonder if those inmates would regret their actions seeing this. Soon enough, sister-in-law will be reunited with her family. Luck is one thing, but what truly matters is the human heart. Story 2. My sister and I are twin beastkin. When forming pacts with humans, my sister claimed the jade-faced monastic prince, leaving me with the vicious young master. Little did we know the ascetic cared neither for power nor women. Yet that ruthless young lord spent fortunes to make me a superstar, bathing me in glory. Consumed by hatred, my sister murdered me, only for us to return to the day we chose our masters. This time, she hastily picked the young master whose cruelty was written all over his face. Little did she know, the face mirrors the soul. How could a vicious, brutal master ever cherish or treat his beastfolk with kindness? 1. My younger sister has always been delicate. Staying with the monk for recuperation would suit her best. As for me, I'll naturally follow the young master. He's the only one who truly commands my devotion. Watching my sister blatantly flirt with Ryder, her cheeks flushed, without even a glance at Quinn, her former favorite, that's when I knew we'd both been reborn together. Nonsense. Our mother frowned disapprovingly. Her gaze softened as she looked at my sister. "Child, I know you want to care for your younger sister, but choosing a life-bonded partner is a serious matter. How could you make such a decision on your own?" Then Mother turned to me, her smile fading. "Since your sister shows you such kindness, you ought to be more sensible." I lowered my eyes. Had I not been given this second chance, would Juno ever have treated me with such care? Mother's reaction spoke volumes. Knowing Ryder's fearsome reputation, she couldn't bear to see my sister bound to him, so she expected me to be the sensible one. "But Mother, if you couldn't sacrifice her, why was I expendable?" Recalling my blind obedience to Mother, Juno dashed straight to Ryder and clung to his arm coquettishly. "Will you be my master? I fell for you at first sight. I want no one but you." Lifting my gaze without a flicker of emotion, Ryder's lips curled into an amused smirk, neither agreeing nor refusing, but I knew that smile, the way he looked at prey, reveling in toying with people like puppets on strings. Juno caught my gaze and shot me a glare, inadvertently drawing Ryder's attention straight to me. I quickly feigned ignorance, staring down at my own feet. After a long pause, a lazy male voice finally drawled with amusement, "Call me master." With a sickly sweet master, Ryder burst into laughter, pulling Juno in for a kiss without a care for the onlookers. Seeing my mother's awkward expression, I felt a slight relief. "It's done." Juno skipped over cheerfully and whispered in my ear, "Little sister, I'll gladly take your top celebrity and man for myself. No one would ever choose Ryder over Quinn, too, unless she's a complete fool." Quinn possessed an androgynous beauty, with flowing silver hair cascading over shoulders, a truly mesmerizing sight. His legendary good temper was well known. Rumor had it no one had ever seen him angry. After all, this was a lifetime contract. Compared to the brutal and tyrannical Ryder, Quinn was undoubtedly the superior choice for a bond master. The only pity is that Juno's impulsive nature, her thirst for quick success and lust for power defined her character. Though utterly captivated by Quinn's breathtaking beauty, it could never satiate the greed in her heart. Quinn's brilliant mind only confirmed their fundamental incompatibility, sealing the fate of their relationship before it began. Thus Juno gained absolutely nothing from Quinn. Her relentless self-sabotage led to complete disgrace, making her the laughingstock of the orc community. Yet the younger sister she always looked down on, me, rose to become the entertainment industry's top star. Not only do I have luxury cars and jewels galore, but Ryder's also my devoted protector, spoiling me rotten, the envy of the entire internet. Now I'm the role model every orc aspires to emulate. With such a cruel contrast, how could Juno not hate? The mere thought that our fates diverged from the day we chose our masters, one ascending to heaven, the other condemned to hell, drove her to utter despair, bordering on madness. It wasn't until I returned home for my mother's birthday that she seized her chance to drug and murder me. If only she had understood. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Behind every glamorous facade lies untold hardship. A brutal contractor like Ryder, accustomed to reckless tyranny, would never spare a thought for an orc's well-being. His devoted husband act was pure theater, exploitation and relentless torment revealed his true nature. With Ryder's erratic temper and utter incompetence, I became his most valuable pawn to sustain his crumbling empire. Name your price, and I'm all yours. The orc's loyalty pact became my inescapable lifelong curse, utterly revolting. Countless suicide attempts, each thwarted by Ryder, only brought more sadistic torment. So when Juno handed me that drugged water, I downed it without hesitation. Perhaps I should thank her for ending the nightmare I couldn't escape. I owe her my gratitude too. In this lifetime, she chose to take my fate upon herself. Quinn and I returned to Ryder's family. 3. His courtyard was elegantly simple, as quiet as poetry, a tranquil haven untouched by the clamor of the world. Standing in the courtyard, tears welled up in my eyes, unable to believe it was real. Quinn seemed flustered, pressing his lips together before murmuring apologetically, "You deserve better than being bound to me." In that instant, I understood what he meant. My mother leads the Orc Alliance while Ryder's family heads the Human Alliance. The pact between our sisters and Ryder's household holds the key to peaceful coexistence between all orcs and humans. That's why even after he took monastic vows, he was bound to form a marital covenant with me, condemning me to spend my remaining years tethered to an unresponsive partner, a life sentence with no reprieve. Yet I shook my head vehemently. I'm perfectly content, not the slightest grievance. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, bathing Quinn in a glow that felt both warm and divine, as I struggled to contain the bittersweet ache in my chest. With that devil Ryder gone, only the tranquil courtyard remained, and the one I loved. Nothing could be more perfect than this dreamlike moment. Quinn's eyes crinkled with a smile. "As long as you're happy." He handed me a card, the highest-tier banking credential issued by the Human Alliance. As I looked at him puzzled, Quinn's eyes softened with tender affection. "Buy whatever you fancy, come back when you need more." My fingers trembled around the card. Before I could speak, hot tears spilled down unchecked. No one has treated me this kindly since my father passed away. As I lowered my gaze, slender jade-like fingers brushed my forehead, while a gentle, amused voice whispered by my ear, "So you're a little crybaby." 7 days later would be the grand occasion of sealing our covenant, for the ceremony not only invited countless media outlets and journalists, but was also live-streamed globally, capturing the world's attention. When Juno and Ryder made their entrance, they instantly became the center of attention. Juno dazzled in a sweeping crimson gown, accentuated by striking pear-shaped diamond earrings that radiated brilliance and elegance. Standing beside Ryder in his burgundy velvet suit, the couple epitomized sophistication, a perfect match of grace and refinement. Taking in Quinn's and my simple attire, Juno curled her lips in a disdainful smirk. "Darling, it's been days. You're looking positively destitute. Shall big sister lend you a helping hand?" I replied calmly. "Thanks for your concern, but I'm doing just fine," Juno scoffed, about to retort when Quinn quietly slipped her hand into mine. He cast a fleeting glance at Juno before fixing his cold, commanding gaze on Ryder. Keep your beastkin in check. Quinn and Ryder are cousins, with Ryder's father Theo currently heading the household. During Theo's early power struggles, his subordinates acted without orders and caused Quinn's parents' deaths, a guilt that made Theo indulge Quinn's every whim. That's why even the unruliest Ryder wouldn't dare cross Quinn lightly. Ryder's expression stiffened momentarily, a flash of anger crossing his eyes before he shot Juno an icy glare. Juno instinctively took a step back, her gaze burning with jealousy at our intertwined hands, yet she dared not utter another word. The covenant ceremony commenced without delay. Juno was the first to ascend the platform, clinging to Ryder's arm. I instinctively reached for Juno's arm, only to be violently shaken off. Left with nothing but her seething contempt, I sighed quietly. Fully aware of my powerlessness yet unable to resist meddling where I didn't belong, serves me right for asking for humiliation. As the ceremony proceeded, hearing the platform's oppressive restrictions imposed on beastfolk, my body began trembling uncontrollably. Orcs are bound for life, forbidden to break the contract, attack their masters, or disobey any command. They must pledge undying loyalty and devotion to their bonded human, dubbed a companion contract. It's nothing more than a master-slave agreement. Even when humans permit orcs into their society, they insist on maintaining absolute control. For orcs, such a contract means staking their entire existence on the fragile hope of their master's genuine affection. Winning the gamble brings joy to all, but what if we lose? The mere thought of my past life makes my heart burn as if scalded in boiling oil. A living hell worse than death itself. Sensing my distress, Quinn gave my hand a reassuring squeeze and whispered, "Don't be afraid, I've got you." When Quinn and I took the stage, 5, as the officiant finished reciting all the covenant clauses, they turned to Quinn and asked, "Do you take this orc clove as your lawfully wedded partner?" I stared at Quinn, feeling like I was in a dream. His thin lips parted as he declared with absolute conviction, "I do not." Those 4 words sent the entire room into an uproar. My body swayed as a deafening buzz filled my ears, my entire being plunged into an icy abyss of piercing cold. "He said." He refused. Amidst my stunned bewilderment and the surrounding chaos, Quinn grasped my rigid hand and raised it high. "I refused to bind Clove with a marital contract. I only wished to stand as her equal, with mutual respect, care, and equal footing. We vow never to harm each other. Either may dissolve this bond, yet choose to walk side by side." The words left the entire hall in stunned silence. My eyes widened in disbelief. What did he say? He wants to form an equal contract with me. The concept of equal contracts was jointly proposed by a human female scientist and her orc lover. It immediately gained overwhelming support from orcs and fierce opposition from humans upon proposal. After all, it benefits the orcs while constituting absolute defiance against human contractors' dominance and authority. Amidst the heated dispute, the 2 major alliances jointly resolved, the contract proposal shall be adopted under principles of fairness and justice, strictly respecting the will of contracting parties. Participation remains entirely voluntary. To this day, only that female scientist has established an equal pact with the orcs. No other humans were willing whatsoever. Is Quinn out of his mind? The previously silent assembly erupted in chaos, with every human dignitary present casting disapproving glances at Quinn. Theo strode up to Quinn and demanded in a low voice, "Do you realize what you're saying?" Quinn stood motionless, his demeanor detached and aloof. "I'm perfectly lucid, uncle." Theo's face darkened as he stared at Quinn for a long moment. Seeing no sign of retreat, he finally let out a heavy sigh. "Fine, have it your way." Quinn's last-minute change of heart became the bombshell of the day. 6, as everyone left, curious glances were cast our way, some envious, some disdainful, others simply bewildered. The coldest gazes came from 2 particular individuals, Juno and Ryder. Juno's face twisted with unmistakable jealousy, her eyes burning with the fury of betrayal. She'd always resented others outshining her, let alone me. Her younger sister she'd always looked down upon, receiving the affection she could never obtain in her previous life. How could she possibly endure this? As for Ryder, that twisted psychopath was always lurking in the shadows. Just because he didn't mess with Quinn didn't mean he acknowledged his cousin. The fact that I, a mere orc, gained Quinn's favor so quickly makes me wonder if he's got some ulterior motive. Quinn subtly shielded me from their gaze, then gently wiped the tear stains from my face with surprising tenderness. "My bad. I should have warned you first. Did I scare you?" My lips parted as tears blurred my vision, a flood of words choking in my throat with no way out. Quinn paused, then slid the prayer beads off his wrist and fastened them gently around mine. "A packed gift. May all your wishes come true." His clear eyes sparkled as he smiled faintly. "No more tears after accepting this gift." Feeling the warmth radiating from the prayer beads, my tears fell harder. "Quinn, you, this wasn't the first time he'd given me prayer beads. In my past life, Ryder's torment left me broken in body and soul. When I tried escaping his household, The tight security left me circling endlessly without finding a single exit. I finally stumbled into a secluded corner and broke down in uncontrollable sobs. That's when Quinn appeared, dressed in white like an angel. He asked softly, "What's wrong? Do you need help?" Knowing he was from Ryder's family, I eyed him warily and refused to say a word. He gazed at me for a long moment before finally taking the prayer beads off his wrist and handing them to me. He said, "Don't cry now. These are for you. May they bring all your wishes to fruition." After all these twists and turns, the prayer beads somehow found their way back to me. How could such a coincidence exist in this world? Under Quinn's tender gaze, I gradually calmed myself and asked blankly, "Quinn, why are you so kind to me? In our past life, he never gave Juno prayer beads, let alone formed an equal contract with her, yet he did all this for me. Why?" Quinn froze momentarily. His usually clear eyes clouded with confusion. After a long pause, he finally murmured, "I don't know either." His cool yet mellow voice carried a barely perceptible huskiness, quietly tugging at heartstrings. "From the moment I first saw you, I knew I never wanted you to suffer again. Since that day, Quinn and I have been getting along better than ever. 7. I'm content, even if we can never be lovers. Being kindred spirits who understand each other without words is more than enough. Spending the rest of my life arranging flowers, sipping tea, practicing calligraphy, and painting by his side would be the greatest happiness. Life was peaceful. If only Juno didn't keep being such a nuisance now and then. Living together at Ryder's family meant we'd inevitably cross paths despite keeping to ourselves. Sometimes she'd even go out of her way to flaunt things at me. She pointed shamelessly at the vivid marks across her collarbone, practically preening with pride. "Darling, Ryder's skills are truly impressive. You really lucked out in your past life, but now his heart belongs entirely to me. I'm afraid you'll never get to enjoy that again." I turned to leave without arguing, but Juno grabbed me abruptly, raising her voice with a flirtatious glint in her eyes. "Sweetheart, remember when you said you were lonely and asked me to find you a couple of brawny beastmen? They're ready whenever you are. Just give me a call." With a pair of phoenix eyes gleaming with schadenfreude, she turned and walked away. My heart sank as I turned to see the ethereal silver-haired beauty standing there, his presence as cold as the winter air. Who knew how much he'd overheard? Quinn's gaze locked onto me, his usually gentle eyes now frosty, his entire being as untouchable as freshly fallen snow. He'd heard everything, just as I was about to explain. Quinn turned and walked away, leaving only a cold, resolute silhouette behind. I hurried after her, following Quinn back into the tea room. I watched as she quietly poured the tea into tasting cups, sipping in silence without so much as glancing my way. I quickly explained, "Quinn, it's not what you think. I never said those things. Juno made that up when she saw you. She just can't stand seeing me happy and wanted to turn you against me." Quinn looked up at me, her face completely unreadable. This version of Quinn felt like a stranger, and I couldn't help but feel a pang of hurt. I don't feel lonely or empty at all. I absolutely love my life right now. Even mundane things like sharing meals or tea with you make me incredibly happy. It's okay if you can't love me back. I don't mind. I just want to stay by your side quietly, so you won't feel so alone. By the end, I could no longer hold back my emotions, crouching before him as I pleaded through tears, "Quinn, please believe me. I swear I never said." Before I could finish, Quinn stood abruptly, then knelt down amidst my confusion and panic until our eyes met. His slender, jade-like hands, carrying a faint scent of tea, cradled my face. I saw regret flash in his eyes as he let out a soft sigh. "I only meant to tease you, forgetting what a little crybaby you are, so delicate and easily frightened. You." My anxious heart finally settled, torn between hurt and anger. "How could you do this?" Quinn's eyes curved into crescents. My bad. How about I make you carrot crystal cakes as an apology today, your bunny highness?" Faced with such charm, all grievances instantly melted away. I huffed lightly, "Then I want carrot cakes for a whole week." Quinn chuckled helplessly. "Deal. Your wish is my command. I'll make them whenever you want. Just promise to trust me a little more, okay?" As I stared in slight bewilderment, Quinn's expression gradually turned solemn. "Clove, I know my faith might make you feel uneasy, but I'll prove through actions how seriously I take our bond. You'll always be my most cherished partner, respected, cared for, and protected. No petty misunderstandings will ever make me doubt you, much less abandon you. My loyalty to you is absolute, so could you try to trust me a little more from now on?" Quinn's tender words lingered in my ears, and I couldn't miss the profound guilt in his eyes. He thought it was his status or his shortcomings that made me shed tears so easily. Little did he know, Ryder's shadow over me ran so deep and painful that even the slightest disturbance would send me into panic, terrified of losing what I had. But Quinn did absolutely nothing wrong. Gazing into those clear, innocent eyes, I clenched my teeth and made a silent resolution. Under Quinn's astonished gaze, I affectionately nuzzled his neck with my manifested bunny ears as a friendly gesture. Then came the miraculous sight of how a person's cheeks could flush crimson in an instant. Quinn's androgynous beauty became utterly captivating, the rosy blush accentuating his enchanting, delicate charm. I couldn't help but gulp. He scrambled to his feet in panic and fled, nearly tripping in his haste. I stood frozen, wounded. Don't you like my ears? This was the most intimate gesture among orc kind. The beautiful Quinn remained silent. Answer me. The wooden fish percussion echoed through the Buddhist hall for a full day and night. Ever since the last contract ceremony, our sisters have become quite the sensation among beast folk. 8. Seizing the opportunity, Mother summoned us home to select a representative who would deliver a speech encouraging more beast folk to form contracts with humans and integrate into human society. Juno immediately volunteered. Let me handle this, Mother. After all these years of your care, it's my turn to ease your burdens. Mother smiled gently but didn't grant her request. Instead, she turned to me. Your sister's always impulsive. You'd handle this matter more appropriately, don't you think? Juno immediately protested. Why are you playing favorites, Mother? What does Clove have that I don't? I'm obviously the orc representative between us. Juno's desperation stemmed from my past life, when my speech catapulted me to fame. Launching my journey as a top influencer, little did she know, our mother truly played favorites. Among the orcs, violent extremists abound. They'd never bow to humans. Sending such representatives would be painting targets on their backs. Mother couldn't bear to expose Juno to such peril, so she used me as the more suitable excuse. This was a truth I only grasped in my past life after surviving multiple assassination attempts, no matter what anyone said. Juno simply wouldn't pass up this chance for fame. After much wheedling and pestering, Mother finally relented, tripling her security detail. As I was leaving, I handed Aunt Mist, our longtime housekeeper, a specially packed box of pastries. She beamed and thanked me in sign language. Juno saw this and violently shoved Aunt Mist aside, sending the pastries scattering across the floor. She scoffed. Clove, you're utterly pathetic. Hobnobbing with servants all day. Don't you dare call yourself my sister in public, I countered calmly. Our servant's not human. Aunt Mist has cared for us all these years. Have you no basic decency toward her? A mocking smile flickered in Juno's eyes. Learn to talk back after just days apart. What? Picking up slick phrases from monks now. Pity, all bark and no bite. You're doomed to widowhood for life. I picked up the fallen pastry and placed it back properly, then turned to face Juno. Everyone knows Ryder is a bloodthirsty brute who kills without batting an eye. Sister, do you really think serving such a master will end better for you than it did for me? Juno sneered. I know you're just jealous that I've got power, wealth, and love while you've got nothing. Pathetic loser. Clove, your destiny is to grovel beneath my feet while I rise to glory. That's your fate. From that day on, Juno delivered multiple speeches arranged by her mother. 9. She plagiarized my previous life speech script, heart-wrenching and sensational, gaining hordes of orc fans, which Ryder leveraged to launch her into showbiz. She quickly became a household name, with every move drawing frenzied adoration from fans. Juno naturally became the face of multiple brands, aggressively promoting products regardless of quality. Money was the only deciding factor. In my past life as a top celebrity, such endorsement offers were endless. But I refused to exploit my fans' trust. I meticulously vetted every endorsement deal, never signing contracts for products I didn't believe in, even under Ryder's coercion. Even as a little rabbit, I want to live with a clear conscience, but Juno's been selfish since childhood, heartless and money-driven, accepting every endorsement without a second thought for her fans' well-being. She fails to understand that public favor can make or break you, as a public figure. Her reckless disregard for reputation will inevitably backfire. Sure enough, within 3 months, I saw the news about her being attacked by orc fans. As sisters living under the same roof at Ryder's family, it's only right for me to visit, otherwise Mom would definitely scold me again. Spotting me, Juno snapped from her bed, a weasel giving New Year's greetings to a chicken. Don't pretend you mean well. Don't think I don't know you're here to laugh at me. Clove, let me tell you. I'm perfectly fine. Stop bothering me unless you've got actual business, I said coolly, with that loud voice. You clearly aren't seriously hurt. At least I can report back to Mother now. Juno sneered. Can't even bother pretending when Mother's not around. I'm still your blood sister. I poured a glass of warm water and placed it by Juno's bedside. Would you actually appreciate my concern, sister? The drawn-out sister carried unmistakable sarcasm. Juno flew into a rage, knocking over the glass with a sweep of her hand. You bitch, you're doing this on purpose to piss me off. Get the hell out. I never want to see you again. Don't you dare set foot in our yard anymore, or you'll regret it. When Juno reached out, I caught sight of faint bloodstains on her arm that hadn't been visible while she was still. A chill ran down my spine. That mark, I'd recognize it anywhere. Ryder owns an exquisite gem-encrusted dagger. His favorite pastime is restraining people to carve intricate patterns into their skin, wounds that heal without leaving scars. The first time he carved me was 3 months after my rise to fame, all because I turned down his endorsement deal. For Juno to bear the same scar at the exact same career milestone, this can't be coincidence. Noticing my gaze, Juno hurled the cushion behind her at me with force. What are you staring at? Get the hell out. I averted my searching eyes and turned to leave. Pausing at the doorway, I couldn't help adding softly, I know you don't trust me, but if Ryder ever mistreats you, tell Mother. Deep down, she still cares for you. In the following days, products endorsed by Juno kept getting exposed for scandals one after another. 10. This sparked massive backlash from her fans. The fallout didn't just affect her, it also tarnished the reputation of Ryder's family and her mother. Just as I was wondering how Mother would handle this situation, I received a video from our housekeeper, Aunt Mist. It was secretly filmed through a door crack. In the video, the mother is seen scolding Juno. I told you not to take on everything. Look what happened now. And I have to clean up your mess. Juno stood by, crying bitterly. It was all Ryder's doing. Not only did he carve patterns into my skin with a knife, but he also drugged me and delivered me to another man's bed. When I resisted, he blackmailed me with those videos. What choice did I have? Her mother's heart ached with fury. How could he? How dare he? Juno collapsed to her knees, sobbing, Mother, save me. I can't go on living like this. Clutching her chest in exasperation, her mother sighed. I warned you Ryder was unworthy of being your bondmate, yet you insisted on choosing him. The contract is binding for life. How exactly am I supposed to save you now? Clutching her mother's leg desperately, Juno pleaded, Mother, I have a solution. Just let me swap places with my sister. If she becomes the elder and I the younger, I won't have to return to Ryder. Xiaohu bot prevents document forgery. For bookfinding bots, choose Xiaohu, reliable heavy checkmark and scam-free. The mother massaged her temples wearily. Even if Quinn isn't close to your sister, do you really think Ryder would be that easily fooled? Juno bit her lip. Ryder, he agreed to this too. For a moment, Mother froze. What did you say? You discussed this with him? Juno's eyes darted away as she sobbed. It was his idea. I'd never dream of making my sister suffer for me, no matter how desperate I was. But Mother, Ryder said, if we don't agree to give him my sister, he'll torture me to death. Watching Juno theatrically shift the blame onto Ryder, I couldn't help but sneer. In our past life, she'd similarly begged Mother with crocodile tears to swap our identities, only to be refused. Given a second chance, she still schemes against me instead of saving herself. Pathetic. With that thought, I set my phone aside, deciding to visit Mother instead. My mother's voice came through the phone. In that case, let's discuss how you and Clove will make the exchange. I stood frozen in place, unable to believe what I'd just heard. Did Mother actually agree? In our past life, no matter how desperately Juno begged or even threatened suicide, Mother never relented. That's why Juno resorted to poisoning me. So even when Mother clearly favored my sister, I still cherished that faint warmth she showed me, at least this once. I didn't yield to my sister, did I? But why did Mother agree without hesitation this time? As I kept thinking, something suddenly clicked in my mind. I burst into laughter, tears streaming down my face. Perhaps in my past life, I had already poured out my suffering to Mother. That's why she couldn't bear to let Juno take my place in this living hell, knowing full well what it meant. But in this life, with my happiness and security assured, Mother agreed without hesitation. So all along, she never truly forgave me. Before I knew it, Quinn had appeared by my side. He frowned and asked, Why are you crying again? Who upset you? 11. Without answering, I began speaking to myself. You know, I was the one who killed my father. When I was 6, my toy ball rolled into the street. As I went to retrieve it, a speeding car came straight at me. My father shielded me with his life, but he never made it out of that day. By the end, I was choking back sobs. That's why Mother resents me. She never forgave me. What about Father? Does he blame me too, for getting him killed? Would he never forgive me either? Quinn gazed at me serenely. Life and death follow karma's design. Release delusion, and the heart finds peace. I froze at those words, forcing a bitter smile. Right, you've already renounced worldly affairs. Why am I even telling you this? Quinn brushed away the tears at my temples. Even having renounced worldly ties, I know for certain he'd never blame you. I stared in disbelief. Why? Quinn's gaze remained liquid, soft yet unwavering as it held mine. You were the one your father protected with his life. He chose to risk everything to save you. How could he ever blame you for his own decision? He loved you so deeply, he'd want you to thrive, not spend your life drowning in guilt over his death. My lips trembled as the weight I'd carried for years suddenly lifted. True, Father always cherished me most. If his spirit watches over me, is this really what he'd want to see? If Father could see everything I've been through, it would break his heart, wouldn't it? Had he still been here, he'd never have let me marry that bastard Ryder. And he certainly wouldn't have forced me to endure that monster's abuse just to maintain peace between our clans. Tears streamed down my face before I realized it. Father, I whispered, I miss you so much. The next instant, darkness swallowed my vision as I collapsed into someone's icy embrace. The faint scent of sandalwood filled the air as his cool hands awkwardly patted my back, whispering softly, Does this feel better? Our bodies pressed flush together. His warm breath tickling my ear, intimate and electrifying. My mind went completely blank, yet the instigator remained blissfully unaware. From now on, I'll protect you in your father's stead. No one will ever bully you again. Is that acceptable, Lord Bunny? Lord Bunny felt blood rushing to his head, losing control as his true form emerged in an instant. Then I felt the cool embrace suddenly turn rigid, frozen in time without the slightest movement, after a prolonged standoff. I finally couldn't resist looking up. The silver-haired beauty's eyes brimmed with flustered panic, a bashful blush spreading from cheeks down the neck, even tinting the very tips of their ears, crimson enough to draw blood. A sudden whimsical thought surfaced. Quinn, are you actually blushing? The silver-haired beauty froze. As if suddenly finding her way home, she released her grip and hurried away, left alone. I watched her retreating figure through tearful laughter, murmuring, my fair Quinn. So your Dow heart isn't as steady as it seems. 3 days later, Mother called me home for dinner. I put away my phone and blurted out to Quinn without thinking. 12. Quinn, what if I get into trouble out there? Will you always have my back? Quinn nodded. I'll stand by you no matter what, but I'd rather face things together when they come. Gazing into those utterly sincere eyes, I silently apologized. I'm sorry, Quinn, I can't do this. You're too pure, in this life or any other. I won't drag you into my mess, but just hearing you say that means everything to me. Under Quinn's searching gaze, I stuck out my tongue. Just kidding. Mom's calling me home for dinner. Returning home, I found the usual guards and servants absent. Mother must have dismissed them deliberately. The table was laden with dishes, including my favorite carrot and pork rib soup already served in my bowl. I noticed a note on the table left by my mother. She wrote about some urgent matter and told me to start eating without waiting for her. As I lifted the spoon from the bowl, my peripheral vision caught the blinking red light of a surveillance camera nearby, and my gaze turned icy. Mother, would you really go this far for Juno? But I'm your daughter too. I calmly drank the pork rib soup before me, then soon collapsed limply onto the dining table. Shortly after I fell. Rapid footsteps approached from a distance. My hair stood on end. No matter how much time passed, the sound of Ryder's footsteps would always be the nightmare that haunted me. They had indeed struck a deal. Ryder would assault me, then my mother would step in to coerce and manipulate me into swapping identities with Juno. This way, Ryder not only got me, the one Quinn desired, but also planted Juno by Quinn's side, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. What a cunning scheme. Pity for you. I'll never let you have your way. I let Ryder carry me out of the dining room and into the nearest bedroom. He laid me on the bed, brushed his hand across my face, then began hastily undressing. Seizing the moment of his complete unawareness, I rose silently and plunged the syringe into his side, pressing the plunger in one swift motion. A dose of anesthetic potent enough to knock out a grizzly bear flooded Ryder's system instantly. He tore off his shirt in panic, eyes wide with shock. You're unharmed. Spitting out the mouth sponge with a contemptuous glare, I sneered. Of course I am. You're even dumber than I thought. Believing my own mother would help you betray me. Ryder staggered with rage, his eyes blazing. You bitch. You and your mother-daughter trio conspired against me. With a faint smirk, I shoved him onto the bed. Don't be angry, young Master Ryder. The real show hasn't even begun. As Ryder stared in horror, I grabbed the handcuffs from the bedside and clamped them around his wrists. Ryder squirmed like a catfish on a chopping board, completely at my mercy. 13. I tilted his chin up with my finger. Did you prepare this prop yourself? Quite impressive. Ryder weakly kicked his legs, shrinking back inch by inch. What are you going to do to me? I effortlessly retrieved the gem-encrusted dagger from his trouser pocket, twirling it between my fingers. What you did to my sister, I'll do to you. Ryder's face twisted in faint ferocity, eyes wide with terror. You wouldn't dare. My father's Theo lay one finger on me and he'll make you pay. With a derisive snort, my blade flashed down, carving a chunk of flesh from his arm. I held the bloody strip of flesh before Ryder's eyes and sneered. Your father may lead the humans, but our mother commands the orcs. Who's to say who'd win if we truly fought? Ryder's pupils dilated as he recognized the flesh, his teeth chattering as he stammered. I was wrong. I swear I'll never hurt Juno again. Just let me go. This stays between us. I'll take it to my grave. Watching this person I loathed to the bone in my past life beg for mercy so effortlessly, a flash of ruthlessness crossed my eyes. So Ryder, you do no fear after all, but this hatred in my heart. How could a single strike ever be enough? I gave him a faint smile. Then seized the moment of his slight relaxation to drive the blade deep again. Even a rabbit will bite when cornered. Blame yourself for hurting my sister. She's the apple of our mother's eye. Under Ryder's hateful glare, I patted his cheek in mock reassurance. But don't worry, Mother ordered me to spare your life, so I'll make sure you crawl back home alive. In less than 15 minutes, Ryder was covered in wounds under my hands. His bare torso was completely drenched in blood, leaving only a vivid, grotesque floral tattoo swaying mockingly. I admired my handiwork with satisfaction, even snapping a photo as a memento. Exhausted from his relentless cursing, Ryder suddenly found renewed vigor when he saw me stop. You reckless bastard, either kill me now or I swear I'll make you pay when I get out. Watching his venomous glare, I smirked and drove the blade straight into his most precious asset below. A perfect bullseye strike. As blood rapidly pooled beyond salvation, not even divine intervention could save him now, I cheerfully remarked, "What a coincidence, Mother didn't let me off the hook either." A violent crash came from outside the door, followed by hurried footsteps. I whirled around in shock. 14, one glance, and my dagger clattered to the ground. "Quinn, what are you doing here?" The sweet taste of vengeance was instantly drowned in confusion. I stood frozen like a guilty child, unable to meet his gaze. As the prayer beads scattered across the floor one by one, a dull ache spread through my body, soon consuming every limb. Quinn must be regretting making that deal with me after seeing this. "You don't just dislike me, you probably never want to see me again, do you?" He's so pure and radiant, while I'm stained with blood. How could I ever deserve to spend my life with him? I shut my eyes tightly, and just the thought made me feel like I was being swallowed by an abyss. The pain so intense I could barely breathe. After who knows how long, a cool, firm touch suddenly wrapped around my wrist. My eyes flew open instinctively as an unseen force dragged me relentlessly toward the exit. When I reached the doorway, horror struck me. The entire front door lay dismantled on the ground. Outside stood two dense rows of hulking figures clad in black. Before I could utter a single question, Quinn unceremoniously shoved me into the passenger seat, in the rearview mirror. I saw my mother and the guards rushing toward us, but Quinn ignored them completely, flooring the accelerator and leaving them in the dust. Quinn remained silent the entire ride. His face was expressionless, yet his entire being radiated a glacial, murderous aura. I shrank into the passenger seat corner, too terrified to utter a word. We could only watch as he raced like the wind, covering what should have been a 2-hour drive in just 30 minutes, practically flying back to Ryder's family. After getting out of the car, Quinn strode ahead into the courtyard where he lived. I followed cautiously behind him, automatically closing the courtyard gate out of habit. The moment I turned after shutting the gate, a sudden force gripped the back of my neck, followed immediately by the startling coolness of lips crashing against mine, ruthless and domineering. My eyes widened in disbelief. Everything happening before my eyes defies all comprehension, as if punishing my distraction. My lower lip was caught between teeth, not too gentle, not too rough, and the sharp sting made me part my lips instinctively. Then came their relentless advance, claiming my mouth like conquered territory, sucking, tangling, a feverish dance that felt like it would last until our last breath. MMPH, my dazed mind combined with Quinn's devastating beauty at close range nearly suffocated me before I barely regained my senses, pushing the man away. I grew increasingly flustered under his icy gaze and stammered, "Have you lost your mind? You're supposed to be a monk." Quinn loomed over me, chest heaving, eyes completely bloodshot as he growled, "Yes, I've gone mad. Seeing you standing there covered in blood, all talk of detachment and purity went out the window. Only one thought filled my mind. I'll never let you leave my side again in this lifetime, so what if I break my vows? This is my choice. And you'll have to accept it whether you like it or not." I stared at him in stunned silence. My heart, after a moment of eerie stillness, began pounding violently. I rushed forward to wrap my arms around his waist, holding tight. "I'm not unwilling. It's just so sudden. I'm afraid you might regret this, silly little rabbit." Quinn pulled me flush against him, lips brushing my ear as he murmured, "When prayer beads snap, bloodlust awakens. There's no turning back now, nor do I wish to." As shivers raced down my neck, reason crumbled, my body thrummed with unfamiliar longing, unable to resist reaching out to hook my fingers around his neck, my bunny ears teasingly brushing against him. "Master, would you like to?" Quinn's breath hitched as if scorched by invisible flames, his gaze burning with restless desire. My eyes trailed down to his bobbing Adam's apple. Silence meant consent, after all. But Quinn suddenly turned his face away. "Not now." Only then did I remember the blood all over me, feeling slightly awkward. "I should go shower first." Quinn let out a soft chuckle. Before I could even get annoyed, he turned and cupped my face, reclaiming his dominance once more. This time, it wasn't as domineering as before. Instead, there was a gentle, soothing quality to it, as if he were kissing the most precious treasure in the world. The feeling of being cherished so deeply made me instinctively deepen the kiss with Quinn, losing myself completely in the moment. After what felt like an eternity, Quinn was the first to pull away. Through my dazed vision, I saw his gaze, tender yet solemn. "We humans have a tradition. If a man wishes to unite with the woman he loves, he should at least offer her a grand wedding first," I murmured in protest. "We beast folk don't stand on ceremony." Quinn pulled me into his arms, bending down to whisper, "Patience, little rabbit, I won't keep you waiting long." After that day, Quinn went to see Theo. I never learned what they discussed, only that Quinn returned completely transformed, his long hair gone forever. 15, Ryder vanished without a trace, and neither my mother nor Juno ever reached out to me again, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that our twisted fate was far from over. Soon after, multiple mutilated bodies of young beastkin girls were discovered in the outskirts, their lower bodies torn apart and flesh carved with horrific knife wounds. The gruesome mass murder quickly became a national sensation. The investigation revealed one common trait among all victims: they were Juno's fans. Under mounting public pressure, the Alliance decided to put Juno on public trial. Quinn and I were invited to observe the trial, but I sensed something wasn't right from the start. True enough, Juno immediately pointed at me and started causing trouble when the trial began. Little sister, even now you refuse to repent. Do you think my life offered in atonement would spare you the torment of conscience? The courtroom erupted in murmurs, dozens of scrutinizing eyes burning into my face. The magistrate pressed urgently, are you implying Clove's involvement in this matter? Juno gave a hesitant nod, then shook her head. Her lips parted as if words stuck in her throat. My mother immediately scolded me, you ungrateful girl, get down from there this instant. Quinn and I locked eyes, then hand in hand we stepped onto the tribunal platform, standing directly opposite Juno. Tigerbot anti-piracy solution, choose Tigerbot for document authentication, reliable service Nottinghamshire, under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Juno set aside her resentment and began recounting her ordeal between sobs, ever since I chose my bonded mate. My younger sister kept saying how envious she was. She wanted to be a superstar too, to grow old lovingly with her own chosen partner, so she imprisoned me, stole my identity. Not only did she recklessly take endorsement deals, she even grew jealous of fans, beastfolk girls prettier than her, luring them out to murder them in cold blood. When I finally escaped, I never imagined it was all my sister's scheme to frame me for her crimes. Juno broke down completely by the end, pleading through tears, little sister, you must stop this madness. The crowd widened their eyes in shock at this unexpected twist. The magistrate didn't take her words at face value, but eyed her skeptically. Words alone prove nothing. Do you have evidence? Juno nodded and quietly removed her outer garment, revealing arms and back covered in scars. A collective gasp rippled through the audience. The fresh and old knife scars on Juno's body bore an uncanny resemblance to those on the Orc corpses, lending significant credibility to her account. The Inquisitor remained skeptical. Those scars don't conclusively prove Clove was the perpetrator. I have witnesses. Juno bit her lip. My bondmaster recently discovered my sister had impersonated me. She was similarly attacked and remains in intensive care. And my sister's patron, knowing full well what happened, still shielded her. How dare he claim to be a Buddhist? As she spoke, Juno presented Ryder's medical report along with surveillance footage showing Ryder embracing me in the restaurant, followed by me, covered in blood, being taken away by Quinn while Ryder was carried out on a stretcher. At this point, the evidence is irrefutable. The crowd's accusatory stares pierced Quinn and me like knives, their expressions practically screaming they wanted to tear us limb from limb. I just scoffed, Mother, don't you have anything to say about why Ryder was holding me? My mother stiffened at being addressed, then lamented with visible anguish. Clove, I know you've always been fiercely competitive since childhood, and your sister constantly yielded to you, but I never imagined you'd become this brazen. Not only did you imprison your own sister, you actually committed so many murders. Have you no shame for betraying my teachings? I truly regret ever giving birth to you. With that, my mother bowed deeply before the tribunal. I am Clove's mother, but I am also the Orc chieftain. These slain Orc maidens were my children too, and I will never tolerate such atrocities. I hereby demand Clove's immediate execution to deliver justice for all. My mother's words and actions became the final straw that sealed my fate beyond doubt. The onlookers erupted in fervor at the sight, chanting in unison, execute her, 16, the judge motioned with his hand. And the two guards monitoring Juno turned toward me. Quinn stepped directly in front of me. Guards instantly trained their weapons on us as the judge sternly warned, do not interfere with judicial proceedings. Quinn stood firm as a mountain, refusing to yield. I stepped out from behind him and calmly addressed the Inquisitor. After all they've said, don't I deserve to be heard too? Before the Inquisitor could respond, Juno urgently cried out, little sister, stop this. If you truly repent, I'd willingly die in your place. What else would an elder sister do? Mother joined in scolding me. Clove, after all this you still refuse to repent. Do you want to drive your sister and me to our graves? Execute her immediately. Execute her immediately. The crowd's chants grew louder and more insistent, as if my execution was already a foregone conclusion. Order in the court. The judge struck the gavel. We shall let no guilty man escape, nor any innocent man suffer. Speak your mind freely. I nodded slightly. Your Honor, I don't deny assaulting Ryder, but as for imprisoning Juno, identity theft, and murdering fans, I had nothing to do with any of those crimes. Amidst the boos from the audience, the judge sternly demanded, then why did you harm Ryder? I scanned the courtroom before responding calmly, because he tried to assault me. The plot twist silenced the spectators instantly, everyone straining to catch my next words. Every scar on Juno's body came from Ryder. When she couldn't endure the abuse, she begged our mother to swap our identities. Not only did mother agree, she drugged me. That's why Ryder was seen holding me in the restaurant. The judge frowned, clearly skeptical. Even the most biased mother wouldn't show such blatant favoritism, would she? What if the mother despised her own daughter? I gave a bitter chuckle and recounted how my father's death was tied to me, drawing gasps of pity from the crowd. My mother staggered as if struck. "You wicked girl. To twist the truth, you'd even drag your deceased father into this." I clapped my hands, and several elderly figures immediately rose from the audience. I said calmly, "They were all former servants of my household. They can verify my claims." After questioning each witness, the judge turned to me. "These testimonies only confirm your strained relationship, nothing more. Do you have other evidence?" I nodded with unwavering confidence, turning to face Juno. "Sister, now that you've shown your video, care to watch mine?" When I projected the video Aunt Mist had sent me onto the big screen, Mother collapsed instantly, while Juno went berserk trying to charge off the witness stand before being restrained by guards. 17. The truth became crystal clear. The investigation revealed that Ryder, traumatized by my actions, had descended into depravity and forced Juno to procure women for him. Bound by her contract master's orders, Juno had no choice but to exploit her loyal followers' trust, leading them down this path of no return. After the incident, Ryder struck a deal with his mother. They pinned the whole thing on me while dragging Quinn into the mess. Once Ryder inherits the Ryder family legacy, the trio will jointly control both alliances, leaving no rivals standing. In the end, the decision was reached through joint deliberation between the two major alliances. Ryder was sentenced to death, Juno received life imprisonment, while my mother was dismissed and investigated, her lifelong efforts reduced to nothing. Simultaneously, the regulation prohibiting beastfolk from disobeying their contractors was abolished, requiring all actions to remain within legal boundaries. After the verdict, Theo presented a paternity test proving no biological relation to Ryder, declaring him merely an abandoned infant found by the roadside. He subsequently resigned to take responsibility, handing over all affairs of the human alliance to Quinn. My mother had already been depressed after being removed from her position, and the news of Juno's imprisonment sent her into such a rage that she suffered a stroke and was hospitalized. "No matter what, you must see me." After some thought, I decided to go. In the hospital, my mother's ward was tucked away in a remote corner where not a single ray of morning sunshine could reach, while the caretaker kept berating her. Seeing my once proud and dignified mother reduced to this state left me with a tumult of conflicting emotions. Instead of complaining, Mother desperately clutched my hand with all her strength, gasping, "Save your sister," under her pleading gaze. I broke free from her grasp with just a slight tug. Tucking the blanket gently around her, I said calmly, "Mother, do you know something? I used to loathe myself just like you do, wished it had been me who died back then, but I've made peace with it now. Father gave his life for mine not so I'd spend it drowning in regret, and certainly not for you to hurt me without restraint. That's why I won't save Juno, nor will I visit you again. This is our final goodbye. Take care of yourself." Mother's eyes flickered with rare confusion at my words, then hardened into their usual resentment. Ungrateful, get out. Seeing not a trace of remorse in her even now, I resolved to give her one final gift. Leaning close, I whispered one sentence into her ear, then her entire body began convulsing violently, followed by a putrid stench. The caregiver couldn't help complaining. She wet herself again. "Your old lady sure keeps us on our toes." I turned and gave her a faint smile. "I'll transfer the caregiving fees on time. I'm counting on you from now on." Stepping out of the hospital, I checked my watch. Still early. I made a detour to the prison. 18. It had been ages since we last met, and Juno looked haggard, worse off than when she'd been with Ryder. Spotting me, Juno threw herself against the glass. "Sis, please, I'll never cross you again. Get me out of here." Juno's figure blurred with memories of our past life. She'd killed me, but her guilt surfaced just as quickly. Not only did I end up behind bars, but it also gave people ammunition to attack my mother. The twists of fate made me sigh, even in this second life. "Juno, you've still come to this." Juno froze for a moment before burying her face in her hands, sobbing. "I didn't want this. I never wanted this. Sis, you know how terrifying Ryder is, right? He forced me into this. I couldn't say no. I'm innocent." A sardonic smile curled at the corners of my lips. "If you're innocent, then there are no villains left in this world. I made a pact with Ryder too, yet I've never harmed anyone. Had you not been so greedy from the start, had you refused those shady endorsements, how could you have sunk this low? Even when Ryder tortured and pressured you, you could have turned to Mother and me. Instead, you were hellbent on making me your scapegoat. Now Mother's paralyzed in the hospital, and you're rotting behind bars for life. Happy now, Mother's paralyzed." Juno's face twisted with urgency. "Can she still get me out of here?" Watching my sister, the golden child Mother doted on for lifetimes, show not an ounce of concern for her condition, obsessed only with her own predicament. A chill ran through me as I spat. "Give it up. Mother won't come to your rescue. Not in this lifetime." Juno's eyes widened in disbelief. "Lies. Mother would never abandon me. What did you do to her? Did you sabotage my rescue? Clove, I'm warning you, let Mother go right now, or I swear I'll haunt you from beyond the grave." Under Juno's increasingly deranged gaze, I simply smiled. I didn't do anything. I merely told her the truth about who deliberately threw my toy ball onto the street. Stepping out of the prison, a silver-haired beauty stood tall in the slanting sunlight. Her eyes were gentle and luminous, like a mountain moon that melts all worries away. 19. My lost heart suddenly found its compass. I dashed over joyfully and threw myself into her arms without ceremony. You came. Quinn caught me steadily, his eyes glinting. Something important came up. That's why I'm here. I took a deep breath. Don't tell me the Alliance is in trouble again. Ever since the Orc Alliance's leadership became vacant, everyone unanimously elected that Orc who fell in love with the female scientist. Who knew that guy would insist on appointing me as his assistant? Claiming that since I'd also signed the Equality Pact, I should help more orcs. Since when do orcs talk like that? Absolutely outrageous. Quinn somehow talked me into it, and just like that, my peaceful days were gone. I've been running around nonstop ever since. I even had to squeeze in time for wedding dress fittings. Quinn chuckled and ruffled my hair. Don't worry, even if the sky falls today, it won't interfere with our important business. I looked up at him. What important business do we have? Quinn said with complete seriousness. Naturally, life's most important matter, getting married. Oh, marriage. Wait, didn't we just have the wedding dress fitting the day before yesterday? What's the rush? That very night, the little bunny experienced firsthand just how impatient her destined partner truly was. This is truly urgent. On my wedding night, I had a dream. I dreamed of a handsome youth whose hair turned white overnight when his parents passed away. And how this youth blossomed into natural grace, yet remained alone in the prayer hall, serene, detached, and at peace with the world. His barren heart finally stirred when he encountered a weeping bunny beast. He gifted the prayer beads he'd carried for years to the creature. To his amusement and annoyance, the recipient didn't thank him but instead fled in panic, clutching the beads. From that moment, the little bunny beast occupied his thoughts. Knowing her timid nature, he found solace in just a distant glance, never daring to hope for more, until one day, the youth keenly noticed something off about the rabbit beast that wasn't her usual gaze, so the youth cautiously probed his cousin, who happened to be the rabbit beast's contracted master, only to discover his cousin had known all along. Reveling in the thrill of absolute control, I lowered my gaze. Had fate not granted me a second chance? Why would Juno be so attentive to me now? The investigation's outcome brought tears to the orphaned boy's eyes for the first time, an inexplicable ache gripping his heart. He sensed his emotions spiraling out of control, even a murderous impulse surfacing, yet couldn't fathom its origin. 3 days of kneeling before the Buddha steadied his mind enough to deliver the killer to justice. He even went out of his way to make trouble for that incompetent mother rabbit. Yet no matter what he did, a void remained in his heart, a gap no Buddhist scriptures could fill. Then one day, he set out alone for the sacred Buddha mountain revered by all. Kneeling every 3 steps, bowing every 3 paces, he climbed 600 stone steps over 3 days and nights, all to seek an answer within. Neither storm nor injury could halt his advance. With unwavering devotion, he staggered forward step by step toward the finish line. At journey's end, no deity awaited, only a weepy, delicate bunny girl. The boy wasn't disappointed, but suddenly blushed and said, "You're too good for someone like me," and